Producing the program. This will be our last live show of the week. We're going to take the final 3 days of the week off. So we appreciate you listening today, and we'll let you know what we have coming up throughout the course of the week. We're going to play some of Coach Witt's best games. Coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m., the Utah win over USC at Rice-Eccles Stadium from 2022. Potentially the most electric home Utah football game I've ever attended. That was Cam Rising's two-point conversion for the win. We're going to play the 2010 win over Brigham Young. That, of course, is the Brandon Burton block game. And then we'll have bowl games live. Tomorrow we have the Hawaii Bowl, which is Cal versus Hawaii. Christmas, we have an NFL doubleheader. It's the Cowboys and the Commanders, the Vikings and the Lions. And then on Friday, we're going to replay the 2021 Pac-12 championship game. And then we'll have the Rate Bowl between New Mexico and Minnesota. So programming note for you here on the station, as today will be our last live show of the week. But we have a lively show today with a lot to get to on the program. Apparently, the folks that run the National Basketball Association are not asleep at the wheel, as according to Sham Sharani and other sources, the NBA is currently meeting and figuring out how they can combat tanking. Because right now, if you include the Jazz in this, which I think we probably will, because I anticipate the same thing happening this year that happened last year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams are unserious about competing this year. And that's way too many teams, and it does affect the product every single night. So we'll get into some Jazz stuff on the program today. The Memphis Grizzlies are in town to take on the Utah Jazz. You know, Christmas Day is kind of like the official arrival of the NBA for a lot of people, because we're just so football-centric in this country and, of course, on the station, since we are the home of the Utes. The Jazz got smoked by the Denver Nuggets. It was 19-0 when I turned the game on. I'm like, all right, well, this is not going to go well. Denver, of course, an elite basketball team featuring potentially the best player of this generation, as Nikola Jokic is leading the league in points and leading the league in rebounds and assists, and I think he's top 5 in points. So we'll get to some NBA storylines on the program today. Of course, the latest in the world of college football as we're getting ready for the Vegas Bowl, where Utah will take on Nebraska on New Year's Eve. And obviously, you can hear that game here on your home of the Utes with 4 hours of pregame coverage for you. And BYU is high speed ahead to the Pop-Tarts Bowl on the 27th at 1:30 against Georgia Tech. That game is sold out. So BYU fans showing out, as they are often wont to do. Utah State season is over as a result of the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, and it is very famous. Everyone's saying that. 34-21, Wazoo took care of the Aggies. The weekend in the NFL, I guess we'll call it the weekend in the NFL, concluded last night with a sneaky Monday Night Football game. Phillip Rivers turning back the clock and actually played really, really well. Brock Purdy was basically perfect. The Niners ended up pulling away. It was a pretty good first half, but 48-27, San Fran's offense was awesome last night. And as a result of it being Christmas week, we get some early pro football. I referenced we're going to have a doubleheader on our station. The Dallas Cowboys have been officially eliminated from the playoffs. Commanders were eliminated a long, long time ago. But a divisional matchup in Landover, Maryland at Northwest Stadium. That's going to be the Lions and the Vikings in Minneapolis. Broncos and the Chiefs in Kansas City, Missouri for now, but that is going to change as the Chiefs are making a very sizable move. Chiefs are out of it. Really, when you look at these games, the Lions still have a puncher's chance. The Vikings, we'll see with J.J. McCarthy's injury. Broncos probably the best team playing on that day. We get a couple of games on Saturday. Texans, Chargers, and then the Ravens and the Packers. So jam-packed football week and weekend ahead. Of course, the world of college football continues to focus on the college football playoff continuing to unfold. We've got some bowl games, one of which is going on right now, Louisville and Toledo. You guys already know this, but in the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl, shout out. Western Kentucky, Southern Miss later tonight. It's the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. This is so ridiculous. It's like not even real. UNLV, Ohio. Western Kentucky, Southern Miss is the New Orleans Bowl. Washington took care of Boise State over the weekend, so a lot of these games have already been played. But, of course, looking ahead to the college football playoff and how the rest of these games are going to play out. I do think we have 8 excellent football teams left. We've already debated whether or not the committee got it right with the 12 teams that were in initially and what we're going to do with the unbalanced nature of G5 opponents getting curb stomped by their counterparts. As Oregon, James Madison was over quickly, so was Ole Miss Tulane. Miami, of course, taking care of A&M. Bama down 17-0 with an incredible comeback in Norman. So coming up tomorrow will be the first quarterfinal game, and it is the Cotton Bowl. Miami and Ohio State. Ohio State, a lot of people think, is the best team left in the country. They're the Vegas favorite to win the national championship again. A lot of eyes on Oregon, Texas Tech around here, no doubt about that. Speaking of Oregon, saw Oregon fan Ty Burrell today, friend of the show, wearing his Mets hat, out and about doing some last-minute Christmas shopping. Oregon, Texas Tech, Alabama, Indiana, and then Ole Miss, Georgia will be your final game. That's the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans at the Caesar Superdome. So a lot going on. Plenty of storylines here locally with the college football scene. The latest on Coach Witt potentially taking the Michigan job. Are they interested in him? Is he interested in them? Nothing new has really come down since you and I last spoke yesterday. He remains the favorite with most of the prediction markets to get the job. And I would imagine Michigan wants to act pretty quickly. But we'll get to that. If anything kind of comes in our way, of course, we will bring it to you on the program today. All right, good guest list. Get you guys properly sent off to your holiday week. We'll bring in Chris Camerati coming up at 2:30, an hour live in studio with CK. I have a special guest joining us with Chris live in studio. Porter does not know this, but I did a little booking today. So CK is going to stay with us for an hour, and then we will be joined by a very special guest at 3 o'clock to discuss a bunch of different things. We'll bring in Amy Donaldson, our friend from KSL, and then we will recap the weekend behind and look forward to the weekend ahead in the world of the NFL with our buddy Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. Chris Camerati, Amy Donaldson, Sean Syed, a very special guest, a very cute, minuscule, special, cute little birdie.
Give me a few guesses.
Well, I think I just gave it away.
Trey, Tony, JP.
We have so many short guests. Actually, that's a good point.
Love them.
Yeah, we love all of them. They're just minuscule, cute little birdies.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I pity Trey this time of year because he's such a tortured soul that I just figured we'd try to get him out of his house to get him in the Christmas spirit as opposed to letting him marinate on the couch watching basketball all day.
We're at least going to, limit the soccer talk, though. This is a holiday basketball. We can talk some soccer. I'm just,
Trey would prefer to talk about the Broncos right now. And I would assume the Nuggets. There's no interesting RSL storylines. I guess there was a piece that referenced they might trade Emeka Eneli.
Why?
I don't know. I love Emeka, but they've got a lot of central defensive midfielders, as you know.
Actually, you know what? Let's just talk soccer the whole game.
Let's talk
the whole show.
Let's talk soccer the whole show. Coming up next, we're going to define GAM and TAM and whether or not RSL should trade one of their central defensive midfielders.
And listen, there is a important distinction between the GAM, the TAM, the roster mechanisms.
Yeah. I don't know what they are, but,
I can explain for you.
Please do, because no one ever has been able to explain it. That young man is Porter Larson. How's your holiday week going, buddy? Are you prepared for Christmas?
Oh, no, I got to go shopping tonight.
I did it this morning,
Maybe tomorrow.
I did it this morning.
That's just how I kind of roll. But, I'm always ready for the holiday. Seeing fam, saying hello, doing the thing. Gifts, whatever. They can be last second thrown together.
Yeah, what's interesting? I had 4 different stops to make this morning, and it wasn't really that crowded, and it's 60 degrees outside. It feels like August, not December. It's wild.
Yeah. I will say, weatherman in here.
Oh, here we go.
January, going to be wet.
Are you just guessing, or is this off inside information you have from your weather bros?
Both.
Okay.
There is a big, tundra cold front coming down. That will give us some snow. I don't know that we're gonna get dumped on, but
apparently Deer Valley had to move an entire event today.
Yeah, no, they lost the event.
That's not good.
I think to Lake Placid or New Hampshire.
Oof.
So yeah, the winter sports in Utah as of December 2025 are not happening.
Yeah.
The World Freestyle in Deer Valley not happening, and in 9 years we're supposed to host the Winter Olympics. So just
Yep.
I don't know, just
not good. Suddenly we live in Northern California, and I'm not complaining, although I do understand what it means to the economy and tourism and such. All right, that's enough weather and tourism and soccer talk. We might get to some GAM and TAM delineations coming up in a bit with Chris Kamrani, Gerald Fitzgerald III, Amy Donaldson, and Sean Syed. But before CK stops by, we'll do a lot of college football with Chris, courtesy of our good friends and your good friends, too, at Prize Picks. It is time now for your opening tip.
Welcome to The Drive with Spence Checketts on Utah's #1 sports talk. Now into the studios of ESPN 700 to set the scene for the show. The opening tip of The Drive is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use the code ESPN700 and run your game with Prize Picks.
You guys already know Prize Picks is the best place to turn your knowledge into cash. Over the weekend, I did an NBA and NFL parlay on Prize Picks and won about $60, so that's nice. So if you feel like you are knowledgeable about sports, whether it's football or basketball, then Prize Picks is the best place to win cash. Holiday season. Best time of year for sports. Bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, and which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that, of course, is with our friends on Prize Picks. New feature alert, they're offering early payouts, which means if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. My fantasy football season is over, has been over, unfortunately, but you can play fantasy football every weekend on Prize Picks. You pick your favorite players. When they hit their projections, you can win up to 2,000 times your cash. Go get their free money and see if you like it. You should always do that if there are platforms offering you free cash, and Prize Picks is doing that. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, because on Prize Picks, it is good to be right. All right, before we get to CK, we're going to do all college football with Chris for the first 30 minutes of his live in-studio segment. Interesting announcement, according to Sham Sharani and other sources. And, you know, look, we've been pretty football-centric over the course of the past 4 or 5 months, because that's the deal when you're the radio partner of the University of Utah, and we want to make sure that they're covered and taken care of. And, of course, this college football season has brought a tremendous amount of intrigue and storylines. Both BYU and Utah had an excellent year. Brigham Young going to the Big 12 championship game, and they'll be in the Pop-Tarts Bowl against Georgia Tech, and Utah just finishing on the outside looking in. Most people believe the third best team. And, you know, I know when we talk about best teams, you want to bring in certain metrics and all that, but they did not get it done when they needed to, but finished right on the outside with a 10-win season. You go 10-2, and you are right there to win your conference championship. That is a good year. And now it will be the Vegas Bowl, New Year's Eve against Nebraska. But in attendant to both of our main products, due respect to Utah State, they played in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl yesterday. Not just success on the field, but a lot of intrigue off the field, which basically has been the majority of what we've covered, with Kalani Sitake flirting with Penn State and then deciding that he wanted to stay with his current partner, BYU. And then just a seismic, historic couple of weeks for the Utes, as Coach Witt is going to step aside, and Morgan Scalley is finally going to get the job he's been promised for quite some time. And we'll get Kamrani's take on this, because it's been a minute since he's joined us, since the news broke. But Christmas Day kind of signals for folks that, you know, I've listened to this show or my old show, or, you know, 20 years in the market. You know, I do enjoy covering NBA basketball, and I miss when the Jazz were relevant and good, because they're just not very interesting to cover. And look, it's a rebuild, it's a process, it's brick by brick, it's step by step. I get all of that. But Christmas Day, for folks that have been kind of in the ecosystem of pro basketball, is really the day where you start to move away from observation and start to move into conclusion, as we're getting, you know, to the point where most all of these teams, depending on, you know, injuries and who's been available, but most teams by the time Christmas Day comes, you're at about 30 games, okay? So it's not quite halfway. Of course, you know, halfway, 41 games. So we're not that far away from being halfway done with the season. I think a lot of people have always viewed like All-Star Weekend as halfway through the season. Well, it's halfway through the calendar, but it's not halfway through the season. Like, we're moving into this area where it you got to look around to see exactly what sort of hand we've been dealt. And if you've listened to my NBA coverage over the course of what I'd say, really since we started this show, and we're in our 7th year, we celebrated our 6th anniversary in August, I have railed on the league for the amount of teams in the ecosystem of NBA basketball that are unserious about competition. It's historic as far as how consistent it has permeated throughout the regular season calendar. And look, playoff basketball is still awesome. And some of the international tournaments are actually better than the regular season in the NBA. But like, if you're sending the message for people that love the game of basketball and love the NBA, like, hey, we'll see you in April. And in the meantime, a bunch of like nothing to see here. Like if you're watching NBA basketball every night, for the most part, you see teams that are playing the exact same way. 5 out, beat your man off the dribble, defense collapses, find a perimeter shooter for a 3-point shot. Defense doesn't collapse, you're one-on-one, you've got a wide open lane to the bucket. Like there's not near the same amount of nuance that there used to be. The rule changes when it comes to the way the game is officiated really favors offensive basketball, and that's why you're seeing games that are like 148 to 144. And that is by design because once upon a time, the pendulum had shifted the other way. And if you remember the 90s where the Knicks and the Heat every year would play playoff basketball and the final score would be like 78 to 76, the league didn't want that either, right? So it has shifted all the way to the other side now. And oftentimes it's an unwatchable product because it does feel redundant as most teams are playing the same way. It does feel like there are very few teams that actually buckle down and try to get stops. The ones that do will separate themselves from unserious teams like the Jazz, who are allowing 127 points a night. For the third straight year, the Jazz are historically pathetic defensively. Now, the good news is they're actually much more entertaining on the offensive end, and that namely is due to the growth of Keontae George in year 3. He's really taken a leap. But the bigger issue, as I've talked about for a number of different years now, outside of employees that don't want to show up for work, which I think is a massive problem that they have to address somehow, some way. The bigger issue is this. About a third of the league is front-facing and admitting we don't care about competing. Like a third of the league. Okay, and we're actually going to see more teams jump into the mix. Milwaukee's got to figure something out. They might just move on from Giannis, but even when Giannis was in the lineup, they weren't very good, and now they're below the playoff line. So I won't include them for now, but I will include them on the side as a team that might jump in and join the following group. Charlotte, unserious about competition. Brooklyn, unserious about competition. Indiana, gap year without Halliburton after going to the finals, unserious about competition. And obviously, the most pathetic franchise in pro basketball, the Washington Wizards, continue to be unserious about everything. Okay, now out west, I'm going to put Dallas to the side for now. Because obviously with everything that's happened with them, they were in the finals 2 years ago and Nico Harrison blew it all up because of his own ego. And now Luka is leading the league in scoring playing for the Lakers. Okay. So there's word that they're trying to unload Anthony Davis. They're trying to find a new home for Kyrie, and they want to go all in on their rookie Cooper Flagg, who was in town not too long ago, dropping 40. So Dallas, like Milwaukee, could join the following group. The Utah Jazz, the New Orleans Pelicans, the LA Clippers, and the Sacramento Kings. Now, with the Clippers, it was not by design, and they've got to figure something out because their draft pick goes to OKC, period, with no protection. I'll also include Portland kind of on the list of teams that could be on the outside looking in. Essentially, that is 10 teams out of 30 that are unserious every night. The league has to do something about this, and that's why the news that came down earlier that the NBA is looking for new ways to prevent teams from tanking is a welcome piece of news. As the Board of Governors meeting on Friday, they rolled out some new policies. Now, we'll get into some of these throughout the course of the show today, and we'll see how effective they're going to be. But finally, an acknowledgement that the people that run pro basketball are not asleep behind the wheel running this league that seems to have so many issues with their regular season product. All right, we'll take a break and get back to the college football storylines of the day today as Chris Kamrani will join us on the other side of a Tuesday edition of The Drive on ESPN 700. All right, final live show of the week as we are inching closer and closer to Christmas. Happy holidays to all of you from all of us here at ESPN 700. Standing across from me, and just an incredible T-shirt that has a horribly embarrassing picture of Aaron Falk on it, is Christopher Kamrani, our college football insider from The Athletic. Hello, CK.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you as well. You and I share a love of warm weather, but we're also in this space where it feels like we live in Northern California now. It's like 62 degrees again.
It's concerning. I have always been cagey about the cold, but like we said off air, I'd rather deal with the cold when it's supposed to be cold as opposed to the repercussions of what spring, summer, and fall could look like without a lot of condensation and white stuff in the mountains. So hoping January and February is a significant turnaround.
I believe Deer Valley announced today that they've lost this ski event that they hold every year that attracts a ton of people from around the world.
Is it the freestyle?
I think it's the
freestyle championships
is it the freestyle
up there?
event?
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
So that's an event that Amy Donaldson and I used to have to cover every single year. And back in the day, like we're talking about from 7 to 10 p.m., like 3 nights in a row, where you are freezing your cajones off straight up. But Amy is a good leader and a good rule breaker. And as you know, I'm a follower.
Indeed.
So Amy would say, like, let's take a break and let's sneak into the VIP tent. And they were serving their famous turkey chili.
Love it.
And lots of, fun finger foods. So that is concerning because that was kind of the belle of the ball that was part of the winter schedule when it comes to, international events here locally for a very long time.
Yeah, this was announced 5 hours ago. Due to challenging early season weather conditions, the 2026 FIS Freestyle World Cup events originally scheduled to take place at Deer Valley are moving to the East Coast, Lake Placid and Waterville Valley. And we lost Sundance, right? Is that gone
that's
now?
Gone for sure. It's going to Boulder. I think this year is than last year.
So we have it here one more year, then it's going to Boulder.
Correct.
Now, that's not weather related. That's a different topic for a different day. But, I mean...
Is that can we air that grievance later on?
We can air any grievance you want, CK.
You seen the Paul Kruger?
Nice. And I do need to... Favorite Christmas movie? Do you have one that comes to mind?
I guess I'll go adult and then childhood.
Love it.
Adult is Bad Santa. 10 times out of 10, I laugh my head off still at all the awful, inappropriate things, and my wife always looks at me like I'm a child. And then Home Alone and Christmas Vacation are probably 1A, 1B for me.
Yeah, you can't beat Home Alone. Classic Christmas movie. All right, Christopher. Let's see here. Well, we'll do the Witt stuff because that's what people want to talk about. I was surprised over the weekend he moved on the predictive markets, Kalshi, Robinhood, and such.
Is this a real thing?
It's a very real thing.
So, where are they just going off of? Are they taking tangible reporting from outlets and then spinning it into some sort of wheel? I wonder where they're getting this from because it's not like Vegas where there's no chance this Kalshi website has inside sources in the Michigan Athletic Department.
We'll go to our predictive market expert, Porter Larson.
So, from what I understand, the Kalshi stuff, the predictive markets, they're all based just on what people are betting on, putting their predictive, the power's in the people's hands.
Exactly. So I don't know if you've seen. There's predictive markets on the Epstein files.
And you can bet on anything.
And apparently, someone just put in a bunch of money on Stephen Colbert, so he's the number one, even though he's not appeared in any of it. That's just a weird connection,
man.
But that's I think how they're operating.
What an upside down existence,
bro! I didn't even know this existed, but I watched. Do you ever watch CBS Morning News? It's a lovely program.
I mean,
the trumpet at the beginning on Sunday. Yeah. It's a great program.
Jane Pauley.
They do a great job.
Yeah.
So the CBS News show, Sunday Morning News, they did a feature on this. Okay. And I'd never even – I only heard about it because this Kalshi website accurately predicted that Trump was going to win again months and months before the trend started going his direction. And some dude in Greece or something won $2 million Or it was actually more than that.
It was probably euros. Let's hope it was euros for his sake.
Well, could bucks be euros? Bucks don't have to be dollars, right?
You're right.
So, like, months before, he put a bunch of money on Trump winning the election. Everyone's like, what's this idiot doing? Because nobody would vote for this man again. And boom, everybody did, and he won a bunch of money.
All because of this guy in Greece.
Correct. So it's his fault. But that's how they kind of made their name. Anyway, more, from my understanding, is more often than not, they're actually right. And as of now, Witt is the favorite over Jeff Brom to get the head coaching job at the University of Michigan. My question for you is this. I think Michigan should absolutely be interested in Witt. Do you think Witt would be interested in Michigan based off of all the chaos that's happened there over the past 4 or 5 years? Their interim head coach 2 days ago was like, this is a dysfunctional athletic department.
Elite name, Biff Poggi.
Yes, I mean, that is central casting for a coach.
For sure.
But with all the chaos in Ann Arbor, do you think Witt's interested in that?
I mean, I think there are layers to this. I would assume that considering the messaging that went out due to, we were the first at The Athletic to report that Kyle was not retiring and still had interest in coaching. It would be an amalgamation of a bunch of things potentially going in that direction at one time. Like, Sharon Moore was fired like 2 hours after after the announcement.
Yep.
Like that Friday, like all of this stuff happened at the same time. So would he be interested? I would say yes. Because, listen, Kyle's an intense dude. He is and I'm not saying this to like be kind of the old school, like pump up the football guy thing, but he is actually like an intense alpha human being. And he is motivated. He said he's in the transfer portal. He's a free agent. And he said to a bunch of microphones that if a phone call hits his phone and he likes what he's hearing, he'll listen.
Yeah.
So, yes, I would bet my money on Witt being interested. But at the same time, I just don't know what other options he would be interested. Like, this is kind of the cherry gig, man. I just don't think that, like, if we come across an opening of like a defensive coordinator job in the NFL or at a blue blood, I don't think Kyle wants to do that. Like, the stars might align and he might get interest and he might interview and we might see where that goes. But beyond that, like, his interest in coaching, in my opinion, in my uninformed opinion, is that like Kyle wants to do what he's done for the last 20 years, and that's be a head coach.
So I wanted to give your cohorts credit, Bruce Feldman, Austin Meek, and Katie Strang, who wrote the in-depth piece on Sharon Moore.
Yeah.
People probably have 10% of the truth. Correct. Because oftentimes you hear the news, it bursts in the cycle, and then you're like, okay, and then you put it to the side. This dude, at the worst, is a total creep and a bad guy, and at best has zero self-awareness. I mean, he was sending women direct messages on Instagram from his own account, basically petitioning them. It wasn't just the staffer he had the affair with. It was, I don't know, Bruce and Austin and Katie talked to at least 5 women who were like, and they asked him to stop. Like, nobody was open to his communication. This will go down as one of the ultimate drop the bag, you blew it moments in the history of college football. He is now unemployable. I don't see a comeback from this.
This is just this is actually a legal matter.
Yeah.
I'll tread carefully here. It's unfortunate, but yes, I would encourage everybody who hasn't read the story by Bruce, Austin, and Katie to go read it. And I guess if you're looking at it from a Michigan point of view, like, I think a lot of Michigan people didn't want Sharon Moore to have that job because he was kind of the lasting link to a tainted era of Jim Harbaugh. And, like, Michigan has been an absolute mess. Yeah. Like, across the board, not even just their football program, the Juwan Howard stuff, like the former football assistant, Connor Stallions, Matt Weiss, who was like allegedly hacking people's computers. Like, it is a laundry list of bad. Yeah. So, yes, Sharon Moore is likely unemployable at the major college level for a very probably in perpetuity. But
I mean, Michigan launched an investigation into its own athletic program.
Yeah.
Like, is AD Ward Manuel making the next hire? Like, these are things that group of powerful people need to figure out, because you can't have a sitting or lame duck AD who might be fired in a few weeks or months hire the next head coach.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that.
It does feel like a lot of things that I've read and seen is a lot of powerful Michigan people want him gone, right? Like, to your point, he might have weeks left on the job, which probably lands in the lap of the university president as far as what the next hire would look like.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, is a current interim president. I don't think they have a current full-time president. So, yeah.
This is Michigan, man.
And offers messy, man.
$20 billion endowment. Like, they don't need cash.
No.
Michigan and USC were the two teams in the Big Ten that were like, no, we're not doing your private equity deal.
And they're a Jordan school. Like, so they're okay on that front. But, it's the Jim Harbaugh era is going to be dissected, I think. I mean, just that championship, the undefeated season, I think will always be looked at a different way for obvious reasons with the Connor Stallion stuff, and then just how all of that went down with, individual suspensions. Sharon Moore had to serve individual suspensions himself in the wake of all that stuff as well before this unfolded. So, I don't know. Whoever takes over is walking into a situation that definitely needs Lysol wipes, to say the least.
Palate cleansing higher.
Extra strength.
Yes.
99.9% virus bacterial killing.
Did you watch the Connor Stallions Netflix thing?
Not.
Oh, man. It was
Did it feel real, or did it feel like
it felt like Connor Stallions himself wanted to forward the story to stay in public consciousness. Porter, I'm going to ask you a question. Oh, he's on the phone. You're on the phone. You're good. You good? I want to ask you a question. I want you to tell me the truth. Okay? You ready? If Witt took the Michigan job and wanted to hire you to steal signs like Connor did, would you do it?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew it. Because I think Porter would be excellent.
Porter would have to cut his hair. He would stand out a little too much.
But he does it once a year. He does this Britney Spears thing where he loses his mind and shaves his head.
I think this is the longest it's been, though.
It is. Yeah. It's due for a trim. Is that coming up?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So you handle this however you want.
Oh, yeah.
You're a journalist. You're a pro. I believe so. That's my understanding of your role.
The rumor. Yep.
I don't know that I've ever had an experience like this in this state covering sports when it comes to the initial announcement of Witt stepping down 2 Fridays ago now, trying to digest it in real time to do a show about it, and then almost on a daily basis getting another piece of information from somebody else about how this all went down. Because initially, it didn't surprise me. I was expecting this. Most of the players that have joined us were not.
Former players, you mean.
Excuse me. Yeah. Most of the former players. And how often do they talk to Witt? I don't know. How often are they up there behind closed doors? Zero idea. But I get the feeling most people were actually expecting him to come back and coach. And then you hear him say himself, first on my show during BYU Utah week, I don't want to overstay my welcome. I don't want people to get sick of me. He goes on Scott's show last week, says the same thing. He does media last Wednesday after practice and said, I don't want to overstay my welcome. I don't want people to get sick of me, maybe 5 or 6 times, which leads me to surmise somebody up there was sick of him.
Yeah, I mean, there's calculation behind. Kyle's been doing this long enough that he will get his point across without having to say.
For sure.
Is it the quiet part out loud?
Yeah, there you go. But you know him as well as maybe any media member in the market. I mean, you covered Utah on the beat for a number of years. And, again, handle this however you want. Where are we at with how this all went down? And was there somebody up there that was sick of him?
That remains to be seen. I feel like if Kyle is saying that, if he was dropping those breadcrumbs as early as October, if he said that on your show and then said that in recent weeks as well as just his most recent public comments, I would assume so. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's all that earth-shattering, because I think it's common knowledge for people in the know. Like, I think some faction of prominent boosters probably were ready to see what Morgan could do and see how he could potentially take the program to the next level, whatever that means. I am fascinated to see how this goes, because as we've talked about after this went down, like the the pressure on Morgan only ramps up now more because of this private equity deal.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see if what that leash looks like. Like, what are they called? Otro?
Otro, yep.
Does Otro have the appetite for a couple 6-6 or 7-5 seasons where people start canceling their season tickets, or like if Morgan goes 9-3 and 9-3 and 10-2, I mean, like, you're okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that we don't know the full picture yet. I don't know if we'll get the full public picture because knowing Kyle, he does not want to go out as a martyr. Woe is me. Doesn't want to come off as somebody who is playing the victim in all of this. But I mean, the problem with the coach in waiting thing, we saw this at Texas. Like Will Muschamp eventually got tired of waiting for Mack Brown to move on, and he went to Florida.
Yep.
And ironically, now Will Muschamp is back in Austin as the Texas defensive coordinator, but it's hard. I don't, and we don't see this that often, but obviously that's one domino that we've seen in this realm. And then with Utah now, it's I think part of it, they were maybe waiting for Kyle to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, the years where they had injuries, like Kyle said himself, he couldn't go out on such a awful, lousy year. I mean, they had the longest losing streak last year at Utah football since like 1983 or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we'll get the full picture. Granted, let's hope that when Morgan Scalley is introduced as Utah's head coach on January 6th.
Shout out. Big day.
I don't know if I will be able to be there, but you would hope that some folks will ask Mark those questions, ask Taylor those questions, ask Morgan those questions, because this is the thing. People deserve to know. Fans have been paying lots of their hard-earned money over a very long amount of time to go watch these guys play, to donate to the program. In the NIL era, you can actually have an impact. I think, as I said on your show last week, transparency to whatever level you want to have it will always benefit you as opposed to keeping things more guarded, because the truth shall set you free.
Mm-hmm. And I'll underscore your point. I think the community and fan base does deserve to know how this all went down. Now,
and if it's not nefarious, then say it's not nefarious, and,
right.
and give the way all of this transpired was a fumble on a multitude of levels.
Yep.
But that goes to show that obviously several sides weren't in lockstep on things.
Right.
And we didn't see a retirement word posting in Kyle's press release. You know who we didn't see quoted in Morgan's press release the day after he was announced as head coach?
Kyle. Right. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if you want to wear the tin hat with me, you can. You can sit in front of the TV and wait for the aliens to come. But I'm just saying, more often than not, if you are able to shed some light on how things went down, it will benefit you from a public perspective.
Yeah, and I don't think this is a tinfoil hat conspiracy conversation. I think it's easy to connect dots, and you and I both know enough people to hear information where you're like, yeah, this was poorly handled. Who was behind the decision-making that led it to be a pretty bad public look? I don't know. Do you have something else to do on January 6th that you can't attend the presser? I would figure you would storm that press conference.
I might be.
Mm-hmm.
I might be boarding a plane to Phoenix for the Fiesta Bowl.
Lovely. Okay.
Going
good for
to work
you.
on my tan, but we'll see. Remains to be seen.
Okay.
I know you'll storm up there for sure.
Oh, I'm storming the press conference on January the 6th. Can't wait for it. Look, when it comes to, because we were talking about this yesterday, I am now in the camp where I firmly believe if this was only up to Kyle, he's back. If this was only up to Kyle, he's not just back next year, he's probably coaching for a few more years. If it was only up to him. So in order for the decision to go down the way that it did, it seems to me he lost the support of either the president of the school, the athletic director, or the money people. Mm-hmm. Those are the only three answers to me as to why, if Kyle wanted to come back, he's not allowed to come back. Is that fair to surmise?
Yeah, and it could be one or several of those three-pronged, theoretical folks that you're throwing out there. But again, I would encourage folks who have a microphone in front of them on January 6th to talk about it, because I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, you know what, if in this, and this is a hypothetical scenario, if you're up there and you say, Kyle might have floated coming back next year, but we felt like it was Morgan's time. Boom, done. You move on.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
If you are, there are ways to tell the truth and combat this public perception that there was nefarious stuff going on behind the scenes by dropping crumbs, so to speak, of what actually happened. Do I think all of those folks were ready for Kyle to be gone? I don't know. I haven't been able to talk to those folks yet.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Kyle was dragging this out. He said, I shouldn't have said 6 years ago that by 65 I'm going to be done.
Right.
I don't think he anticipated having this amount of longevity. I think the Rose Bowls really added a pep in his step, probably the move to the Big 12 as well, overcoming a couple really difficult seasons. The fact that maybe this private equity deal was, intriguing to him as well to see how it could potentially fortify the roster. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you can, if you read the tea leaves, it makes sense that Kyle probably wanted to stay here for a while. For how long, I don't know. And it was probably in the back of Morgan Scalley's mind that was like, hey, man, when is it going to be my turn? Because I've been waiting for a very long time.
Yes, and look, there's so many sports teams, companies, political parties or figures that have the PR approach of ignore, and let the news cycle move on. I know that's how a lot of people operate. Like, okay, there's a lot of attention on this right now. We don't have to address it because people are going to move on because we're all looking at our phones 24/7 and something else will capture the attention. With a story as big as this, I don't think you can sit on your hands.
I don't think you can. I mean, driving back from South Valley the other night, there's billboards thanking Kyle.
Yeah.
He still got his old school billboards that tow company or
those
whatever.
Are still
those
up?
are still
oh,
up.
my gosh.
Like circa 2007. They're still up.
Yeah.
I agree. You can't have, like, this is not Ty Corbin.
Right.
Like, this is Kyle Whittingham.
Yep.
Like, this is somebody who, without him, your university doesn't get to where it's at. Like, literally, Chris Hill has told me, and I'm sure he's told you, like, without 08, they don't get an invite to the Pac-12. Like, the trickle-down effect of how successful that program was under Kyle not only benefited the athletic department, but the entire university, the media landscape, the entire state. I mean, we can talk about Kalshi all we want. I would be interested to see what Kalshi could conjure up in terms of what was Kyle Whittingham's overall economic impact on the state of Utah in his 21 years as head coach. It's just you have to be willing to take the hard questions with something like this. You just have to.
Yeah, I agree. And we talked about this yesterday before we catch a break. Because a lot of the conversation over the weekend was, should G5 teams get access to the CFP because James Madison and Tulane got smoked? Well, this is a different time, and, Utah earned their way into those bowl games, but without the opportunity to show themselves in the Fiesta in 2004 and, to your point, the Sugar Bowl in 2008, there is no Pac-12 or Big 12. Like, there probably isn't inclusion into the big boy conferences without the opportunity to show the country who you are. So I get the belly aching about the lopsided results of a couple of the CFP games over the weekend, but I don't know that we can just blow the system up because people were bored on a Saturday.
Well, James Madison's quarterback had a great quote after their loss. He was like, people are mad at us because we got in, but he was like, it's not our fault we got in.
Yeah.
It's everyone at the ACC for having a terrible year. It's Notre Dame fumbling their he didn't mention teams by name, but he was like, it's all of the Power 4 programs that didn't handle their business that should be where we are, but guess what? They didn't. So you can't get mad at us. Right. The system picked us.
Yeah.
So it's in a very probably disheartening moment where you just saw your season end, pretty prescient for a kid to be like, don't be mad at us.
Yeah.
You might be mad at us, but the reality is we're just a product of the system.
For sure. All right, before we catch a break, we got a new client on the show and on the station, Wasatch Wagyu. So if you've liked the sponsors of our show so far, you're going to love this new one. Wasatch Wagyu, premium, legit Wagyu beef New York steaks, 100% Wagyu burger beefs, roast tomahawk steaks, fillets, and now beef jerky. I tried some of that the other day. It's awesome. Holidays are here. Get yourself some premium Wasatch Wagyu steaks to elevate your meal. It's the real Wagyu beef experience, fantastic marbling with bold, buttery flavors. And now we're focused on their meats, but I want to put a spotlight on their Wasatch Wagyu beef jerky, premium treat with natural flavors. Family owns Wasatch Wagyu. Husband and a wife, Greg and Stacy, are really giving a true small business feel with personalized customer service. All the cows come from right here in Utah. Shout out to the cows. And they're the ones who personally send their product out. So special thank you to Greg and Stacy. Love having you part of our family. You want to buy directly from Wasatch Wagyu, all you got to do is go directly to wasatchwagyu.com and check out their menu. Pick what you want, and they're going to send all of your meats directly to your front door. So you do not have to pick them up. If you don't want to ship, they do have local pickup services available in Heber City. So don't wait for Wagyu beef. Treat yourself, your family, your friends, and help support local businesses. Enhance your holiday with Wasatch Wagyu. Go to wasatchwagyu.com with a discount code DJ10 to get 10% off your Wagyu beef order. So appreciate them this holiday season. We'll catch a break. We have 1 hour down. We have 3 hours to go. Special guest coming up on the other side right here on ESPN 700. All right, 3 o'clock hour of the program gets rolling right now on this Tuesday afternoon. Holiday week style. Happy holidays to all of you from all of us. Chris Camerani live in studio for one more segment, and we're joined now by future Media Hall of Famer, MLS, Gerald Fitzgerald. Trey, hello. How are you?
I'm great, Spence. How are you?
Great to see you. Thank you for rolling in. Are you guys really trading Emeka and Nelly?
No, even though Chris's cohort at The Athletic, Tom Bogert, keeps saying that. I probably have an easy time believing that a lot of teams would love to have Emeka and Nelly.
For sure.
I'll just remind everybody that he did sign a 5-year contract in August of 2024, and we believe he's a building block for the long term.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be here to break down the Nuggets' 32-5 run to open the game yesterday.
I turned the game on. It was 19-0. I'm like, I'm not watching this at all.
Okay.
Do you watch on SEG or do you watch on altitude?
Well, because I live here, I was forced to watch on SEG, but typically I watch the altitude broadcast on NBA League Pass. Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Well, maybe we'll break down the Nuggets in a moment.
Okay.
Broncos are good, too. It's a good time to be Trey Fitzgerald. I mean, your teams are actually playing really well. I wanted to bring you in, though. Chris and I were just talking about the way that the University of Utah has gone about their business to announce the Coach Whittingham news. 2 Fridays ago, right before we started the show, the intro was actually playing. We had an entire show planned. Boom, email spill saying, I hit the talk back button important. I'm like, we have to blow everything out of the water. Rundown is dead. So it's a Friday afternoon news dump. Now, for our listeners that don't know, Trey is a longtime PR pro in MLS, very well respected. You've been doing it forever. 3-time winner of MLS PR Executive of the Year. That's why they call you Trey.
That is why.
Yeah. So take us and our listeners into the decision-making process when something as sizable as this is not, as Chris pointed out earlier, this is not Tyrone Corbin being fired. This is Kyle Whittingham stepping aside after 21 years as the head coach. How do you traverse these complicated spaces when you need to announce something like this?
Yeah, it's fascinating from afar, and I don't pretend to know the college football world. Chris is definitely my college football expert, but the media world has changed a lot. And, I bemoan this every day. Like, the old rules just don't apply anymore in this 24/7 news cycle that Twitter probably accelerated, and the absolute preponderance of misinformation, disinformation, and honestly, I think people don't care, and a lot of institutions don't want to help their fans or their constituents or the media who we used to all speak through to get to our fans. There's not really, it doesn't appear to be an interest in helping people do their jobs. Now, I will tell you soccer's different, right? Access and accessibility and honesty, and this is why, as we've talked about, I love Pablo, because Pablo is 100% honest. He'll do almost anything we ask him to do, because if we think it's good for him, good for the club, he'll come on your show, he'll go on other shows, he'll make time for people. That's why Garth Lagerwey is as beloved as he was, too. That's why your dad was as beloved as he was in the soccer spaces and probably many other spaces, because he believed in providing the perspective. So,
well, and it's a professional league as opposed to, for the longest time, everyone's like, oh, this is amateurism. These are kids. That's not the case anymore. Like, the gloves are off, man.
That's a good point.
So that's why I'm like, this should only further incentivize folks to be like, I'm trying to think of like something that I mean, Trey knows when I was on the RSL beat, I used to beg him to let me to talk to Deloy because I knew Deloy would be honest with me if I asked him hard questions.
Yeah.
And granted, like, Trey probably wasn't very happy with some of the stuff that Deloy would say sometimes because it would be in the press, but ultimately you're getting actual answers. The public deserves to know. These are people who are paying their hard-earned money, man. Whether it's going to soccer games or football games, they're trying to take their kids, they're trying to take their spouses, their boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. Like, this is not just like they're turning it on to watch on TV. They're actually paying. They're buying these specialty packages. They were trying to find I almost swore that the Pac-12 network once upon a time. Like, So I'm just saying that it's like, it's not rocket science, man. And you can. And if you are the institution, and Trey can correct me if I'm wrong on this, like, you can give a trail of crumbs of truth. You don't necessarily have to blow it up, but just give people a little taste of what actually happened. And then and if people want to go further, they can. But it's like it's not like we have these folks strapped into the chair and we're doing the Clockwork Orange, eyes wide. It's like more often than not, it's the institution or the organization that has the chance to control the messaging.
Yeah.
So
and that's where it starts, right? So 21 years of soccer in this market, 30 years of MLS, soccer being in the growth mode, being 100 years behind the European and South American institutions, being 80 to 100 years behind established professional sports, and probably being 120 years behind the University of Utah. As I'm watching this from afar, and I listened to you guys a lot that week in the middle of your 5-day masters in economics and world finance. But look, I don't pretend to understand it, but they clearly, in talking to Dave Fox when I was over at Channel 2 the other day, and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with Witt. He's got what I would say is a pretty killer next couple years of retirement baked into his contract, which I didn't know. But if the guy still wants to coach, I think the biggest point is they didn't have to do it on that Friday. They didn't have to not make him or the president or Harlan or Morgan or anybody available, right? And none of that's really happened until a practice a couple days ago. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, Wednesday of last week. Yeah.
Okay, so
is the Friday news dump a thing, Trey?
I think
do we overstate that?
I think it is, because look, generally in any sports cycle, Friday you're trying to wind down before that weekend's game. It was much more of a thing when you had the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news, when you had an afternoon print deadline or a Saturday morning print deadline. Those things don't exist anymore, right? It's all a tweet can become a firestorm in 30 seconds if it's done the right way or the wrong way. But they just didn't want to be transparent is how I read it from afar. Yeah. And maybe that's because they're trying to figure out a new situation for Witt. Maybe because Witt and his agent are trying to leverage certain things. I can only speculate like anybody else.
Let me ask both of you a question. When a rollout is as clunky as this has been, Trey, in your experience, because there are different magnitudes of stories. There are different levels to what a story means or does not. Like, if it's a transfer of Andres Gomez to a team overseas, that's one thing. But if it's Chicho's suspension, that carries more weight, right? So there are different levels here to the points we were talking about earlier. This is not an offensive coordinator leaving for a different school. This is the head coach of 21 years who has built this thing stepping down. And it's been the main story people have been talking about and wondering about for a number of different years. The magnitude of this story is too big to be handled the way that it is and has been. Does it indicate that there is something to hide? Somebody is needing to be protected? I want to hear from both of you on that.
I don't think... Well, one, it's coming at a time of year where the calendar is very odd and awkward. People have stuff going on. They have a bowl game to prepare for, albeit it's a bowl game that they've been to. I think this is their 5th or 6th time.
Yeah.
This is not like they're preparing for a New Year's 6-day game or a CFP game. But you're talking about the holiday season. You're talking about the date in which Kyle had to legally, contractually let them know what his plans were. I think it was the 5th.
I believe so, yes.
Friday the 5th. And the week later, the announcement came. And then you just talk about the coaching carousel, like all of this stuff. Like college football right now, to me, is now kind of approaching the NFL, where everything beyond this field is more interesting than the actual games. I think that's the brilliance of the NFL, is that they've managed to make it a 365-day a year news cycle. College football's trending in that direction.
Totally agree, yeah.
But I don't see why you couldn't have scheduled a press conference. I mean, it's December 12th. We have 13 days before Christmas, 12 days before Christmas Eve. Rather than wait 3 weeks, I don't know, Trey. Like, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks to schedule a press conference versus a week. I don't know what that says, but it's like you can just get it done.
Yeah,
Rip off the Band-Aid.
That's the thing for me. There are no surprises here, right? Unless there was a surprise that threw everybody off. But the contract date, the notification date, we've been waiting for 2 years, I guess, to find out when it was going to, or 3, to turn the page to Morgan. If I'm Morgan, I don't necessarily love how this was handled either,
for
right?
Sure, yeah.
So I guess that would lead me to believe there was some curveball behind the scenes. Who threw it? I don't know. It could have been Witt. It could have been his agent. It's not ideal, right? Like, I think everybody would have wanted to give the university the 21 years or whatever it is of Witt's legacy, like a moment in the sun, right? To truly appreciate. Like, I just heard the little commercial you guys have honoring him and what he's done. Like, why wouldn't they have wanted that to be the lasting image instead of us kind of media geeks talking about how clunky this is? And I think more will come out. I know, Paul Kirk and some of the guys up there, he's got a tremendous resume. It probably wasn't rolled out the way he wanted. Again, I'm speculating. So I don't know. There's a lot more questions than answers, and that's never ideal.
Right, and I think that underscores the point. And we're all kind of speculating. I wouldn't say one name is behind this as far as the way it was handled. And, everyone up there's always been good to me and good to us. And hopefully we'll have a chance to sit down with Kyle or Morgan or Taylor or Mark and actually ask these questions to them. But the silence has been a little bit disappointing. And there's just enough things going on to use as a smoke screen. They can hide behind hey, we still have a game left to play. It's well, yeah, we know. But it's Nebraska without their starting quarterback. You're favored by 1 million. Okay, it's a bowl of zero consequence. Maybe it holds a little bit of weight because it's Witt's last game. Maybe we'll see a number of Ute fans actually make the trip just to say thank you and pay honor to him. But there are levels to, different stories and different types of power struggles. And I've just been thinking a ton over the past week about the ones I've experienced, whether it was growing up and having a front row seat to Pat Riley faxing his resignation in, to the House, right? And then leaving for the Heat. Or, the Van Gundy, Ernie Grunfeld thing that led to Phil Jackson sitting on the couch interviewing for the Knicks job, and then seeing it front row and then reading what the media was writing about, being they really have no idea. Yeah. Right? Or whether, the Quinn and Dennis Lindsay thing, where I'm getting messages from both of them, and then the Tribune gets the report. And, it's just hard to know what to believe when it comes to power struggles like this. I don't think it's that uncommon for it to be a little bit ugly behind the scenes in a way that nobody really fully grasps.
Do you remember what the paper said when Pat faxed it in?
I don't. I could find
think,
that out.
I just think of Back to the Future, too, when he gets fired in the future.
Yeah.
And he's wearing 2 ties.
Yeah.
Old sad Marty. You're fired.
The 2 ties. It was literally a fax. But if you think about what you've covered over the years with the magnitude of announcements and stories, and then maybe later on learning actually what really happened, does anything stand out to you?
I mean, if we're talking about recent in the state, I think, all of it is generally going to come with success. Because if you don't reach the pinnacle of whatever you're doing and you fall short, all of it is going to be dissected and analyzed through the lens of failure. Fair or not. Kyle, listen, and I've talked about this through the RSL prism, through the Jazz prism, through the BYU prism, through the Utah prism. Sports fans here have it so good that they will never understand it. They won't. And granted, there might be some lifers who, grew up in the 80s and remember the Jazz band at the Salt Palace when they were winning 12 games a year, or at the same time when Ron McBride or I don't even know who the coach was in the 80s. We don't know. That's the whole point.
Right.
My point is that you are going to be a victim of your own success if you're able to be successful enough and sustain it for as long as you can. I mean, I remember some Jazz fans being like, Jerry, game might have passed him by. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are people here who have been ready for Kyle to leave for a very long time.
Uh-huh.
He's been a victim of his own success.
Yeah.
And it's just really fascinating to me that this is part of the ending. I don't think it's part of legacy is such a kind of a corny, cliched phrase that I don't necessarily like to bandy about all that much, but unfortunately, people are going to remember how this ended for Kyle. Mm-hmm. They're not going to remember. They're going to remember his hand in all of these games and stuff, and building the program to where it is now. But people are going to say, "Oh man, that was weird." Like, I wonder what – it's always going to be like if they don't answer questions, and they might not, people are always going to wonder what happened. And they're going to mine for it, and they might find accurate information, and they might find more likely than not a bunch of wrong information.
This will be more than a footnote, and I think Kyle deserves better. That's kind of been my thing, and I don't have any intimate, innate knowledge of his relationship with Mark Harlan or Morgan Scalley or Taylor Randall or the money people up there, as we've talked about it. It had to get loose with somebody of consequence. It didn't get loose with the equipment manager. It got loose with somebody. But on the scale of kind of power struggles, Trey, I've been thinking about some of the RSL stuff over the years, and you've had to traverse some pretty complex spaces when it's a changing of a owner. And that's the biggest probably story that you could actually talk about. And there's other, Freddie bounces for the Seattle assistant job, which was weird.
That was weird.
But on the magnitude of these, as far as the levels go and power struggles that you've seen behind the scenes and then the information that's disseminated publicly, how would you kind of parse that?
I think we've talked about it a lot in recent years, whether it's Pablo, whether it's John Kimball, whether it's now Steve Starks with the Miller Group. Alignment is key, right? We had that early on under your dad when he founded this club. Then as Deloy became a partner, we had some really great years on the field, not necessarily alignment off. Then you had a transition in 2013. Then Jason left, then Garth left, and then Bill Manning left. In 22 months, you lose your head coach, your GM, and your president that all had, I think, a pretty high level of success on and off the field. Then, looking back, I would say we kind of had pretty dark times there for about 5-6 years.
My days on the beat.
CK on the beat for the worst of it, yeah.
And then, the best year we had was, Pablo comes in as an interim. We're a league-run team, and we go to the Western Conference Final. And then, Blitzer and Ryan Smith came in, stabilized the ship. A lot of healing happened, and I think we had a modest degree of success, but now we've lost in the first round 4 straight years. And I'm very bullish on Steve Starks and Steve Miller and the Miller group's vision and leadership. But as somebody very smart and prescient said to me earlier today, people are tired of hearing about vision. They want wins, and they want goals, and they want a deep playoff run, and maybe a deep Leagues Cup run, and a deep Open Cup run. That's what we all love about sports, right? The one thing you can't control is the thing that fixes everything. Mm-hmm. And look, I would say as a casual college football fan, it feels like the Utes had that a lot of years. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just in our world now that somebody up there, and it could have been Witt and his agent and the president and the AD and everybody, they said, look, we don't need to do things the way we've done them for 50 years and work with the local media and try to disseminate our message that way. Witt's agent can post something on Instagram and it's everywhere in 10 minutes, right? And I don't know how the fans feel about that, but I guess I'm fortunate in my current situation to work with, Pablo always says, in the absence of communication, people fill that void with their own fears and insecurities. And that is a horrible way to, and I hate this phrase about controlling the narrative. What I've always tried to tell our owners, our head coaches, or whoever, we need to participate in the narrative. And there were a lot of years when I was there, and there were other years when I was gone, where we were kind of muzzled from being able to talk about what is really going on or what we needed to dig out of the mud. And so I think we've gotten through that. And again, it's all about people, just like anything. It's relationships. And I think we're very lucky now that we have, between Jason Kreis, Kurt Schmidt, Tony Beltran, Pablo Mastroeni, John Kimball, Steve Starks, Michelle Smith, the list goes on and on. We have people that want to communicate with the fans. Yeah. They are responsive and receptive, and I think we as a club try to be as transparent as we can be. Clearly there's competitive and financial things that you just can't peel back the curtain entirely, but I think compared to other MLS clubs and hopefully compared to college and pro sports in this market, that's a differentiator for us, is that access.
Well, and you've always believed in it, and it was one of the reasons you were in lockstep with my father, and you referenced soccer's kind of different. It wasn't for my dad. He always believed in access all the time. Now, as we talked about, there are stories you have to massage, but he believed in utilizing the fourth estate to further a message in a way that not a lot of people do. And we'll end on this because I know you guys got to get going. There's a piece that I read a while ago now. It came out a couple of years ago. Aaron C. Carroll at Georgetown University law professor. It's called Platforms and the Fall of the Fourth Estate. And it is talking about what you just dissected. It's Twitter, it's Instagram, it's social media platforms that now have essentially superseded what was historically the fourth estate, right? Which is the space you and I are in, Chris. And I wonder.
You're a journalist just like me.
Well, I mean, you're more so, and that's why I like having you on. But ultimately, you referenced earlier, like, if you are relying on the backs of paying customers to be the lifeblood of your business, you do have an obligation to them. What do you think that obligation sounds like?
Well, especially as a public institution.
For sure.
I mean,
for sure.
I think the problem is we don't have enough time to get into this, but there have been several reasons why the state of my near and dear profession has started to, I don't want to say circle the drain, but we've fallen on hard times.
Not an area of growth.
Okay, yeah. Okay. See, look at this guy. He's so much better at actual speaking than I am. The responsibility is facing the music and facing questions. That is it. End of story. Like, these are folks who make a lot of money, an insane amount of money. Like, I think of, and I'm always going to fall on this, and maybe it's not a fair comparison, but like, my wife's a first grade teacher. She is a public employee. The same as, folks up there who are making millions of dollars. And I'm not saying they don't deserve that, but if we put it all into perspective every once in a while, like, all you have to do is try to be somewhat transparent when, I don't know, like, is this bleep hitting the fan? Like, kind of. It's not like, this is just like, it is what you make it out to be, in a sense. Like, all you have to do is be willing to be somewhat transparent about what happened, and you turn the page. And that's why I'm saying, like, this could have been all settled by now, man. Like, everybody could have had Christmas Eve chilling, but instead, like, this is going to drag on through the bowl game, and then we're going to wait for January 6th, Spence's Day, and then we're going to
storm the press conference.
We're gonna see what happens. But the responsibility is absolutely to your paying customers, your alumni base, whether they donate or not, and just the people in the community. Like, you drive around town, you see people flying Utah flags, stickers on the trucks, the big trucks.
They're very, very big, very
with
large.
so much tint on the windows.
So much tint.
I'm just saying, like,
backing into parking spaces while I want to go grocery shopping.
It's not hard.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see what happens the next couple of weeks.
Trey,
sure.
We'll give you the final word on this because, of course, and I'm a grown-up about this, part of running a team is to potentially try to turn a profit. And in order to turn a profit, things like tickets are more expensive year over year, and corporate sponsorships become more expensive year over year. And my guess is the University of Utah community, whether it's alums, boosters, or simply season ticket holders, are going to get emails in the coming months saying, hey, we love you, but you're now going to be charged 30% more for your experience. Therefore, as we just outlined, you have an obligation to your paying consumer to what? How would you complete that sentence?
More deeply engage them on emotional levels. I think that is what it all boils down to. Partially because of Matt Rader's brilliant plan to leverage the Lionel Messi potential game on April 22nd. We have sold an enormous amount of new season tickets. People that hadn't renewed have come back. We've got 4-game ticket packages. So, like, that's really... That's great from a business standpoint.
Sure.
But I think all those people that bought those season tickets, and I think Steve Stark, Steve Miller, everybody involved is like, okay, we are properly leveraging and capitalizing on what may end up being Lionel Messi's only visit to Utah ever.
Yeah.
How do we – now this is where we're lucky to have a family like the Millers involved because they view this as a public stewardship. how do we take advantage of the money that comes to that game, the ancillary dollars from the packages, the new fans, the casuals, the sponsors, the new sponsors, and pour it back into our team so that we can continue to upgrade that fan experience, that we can continue to deepen our place in people's lives. And we're in a very different stage of the life cycle, but still, we're all sports fans, right? Like, I had forgotten about my love of the Nuggets until the Jokic era, right? And now I pay for NBA League Pass, and I'm glued to a TV 3 times a week, much to the, disdain of everybody in my circle, right?
No love for Kenneth Faried from Trey Fitzgerald.
Oh, I love the Manimal. Like, all these great, when he breaks Kareem's record like he did the other night, you see these highlights of Danilo Gallinari.
Oh, yeah.
The Manimal and like a fresh-faced little 18-year-old looking Joker. So anyway, that's my escape now is watching the Nuggets, and I know they're never going to be this good again. But hopefully they can keep this going for 5 or 6 years. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah. You're so lucky to have that dude. He is so good. It's every time I watch
and
him.
Jamal Murray.
Look,
my favorite.
I'm glad you finally started to listen to me about both Jokic and Jamal. You wanted Nurkic. You wanted them to keep Nurk. I don't know if that's true.
Who's now on the Utah Jazz?
He is indeed leading the league in defensive rebound percentage. Little known fact.
Oh wow!
I think
sounds like opening tip.
People forget that Denver had a legitimate debate: who do we keep, Yusuf Nurkic or Nikola Jokic? Because they drafted both of them.
And Michael Malone tried to start them together, and then Joker said, "You know what? I'll come off the bench." And then a month later, they traded Nurk to Portland.
He's so good. All right, you guys got to get out of here. You ready for Christmas? Leo, he's taking – okay, fair enough.
No chance.
You know that.
Well, look, thanks for your contributions all year. Merry Christmas to you and
Thanks
yours.
for having
Happy
us
holidays,
always.
okay? There we go. Chris Camerani and Trey Fitzgerald. All right, before we catch a break, we're all getting older. It's harder to get in shape when you get older. Breaking news, okay? We have a new client on the show that can help you with that, and they're giving you the same deal that they give me. It's Game Day Men's Health, okay? So if you've tried to get back in shape as you've aged into your 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, you understand what a challenge it is. The holidays are here. You might be setting resolutions or intentions, as the kids call them. And maybe one of them is to get back in shape or get in better shape, or maybe you need to lose a lot of weight. Here's the deal. I made a goal a couple years ago to get in the best shape that I'd ever been in as an adult. I really tried hard for a few months, wasn't making a lot of progress, and I had a friend recommend Game Day Men's Health. So here's what you do. You go in for a free consultation. They're going to take some blood work, and then they're going to go over your levels with you. And for me, they were able to help me supplement testosterone and then utilize peptides. And that's what's allowed me to get in the best shape I've been in as an adult. They have semaglutide, tirzepatide, the other fat-burning remedies. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Game Day Men's Health. Schedule your free consultation, but here's the kicker. 50% off your first year of membership with our good friends at Game Day Men's Health. Amy Donaldson joins us next on ESPN 700. I knew at some point Porter would crack and not play Christmas music anymore. Is this you saying you've had enough? In your defense, we've been playing Christmas music for basically a week and a half.
Well, and also in my defense, it is snow.
I like it, which we are lacking.
I got kind of through our catalog of Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and the country Christmas albums. So I'm having to get creative now.
Well, Amy Donaldson is live in the studio. We'll let Amy pick her favorite Christmas song next segment. How are you, Amy? Great to see you.
I'm good.
Holiday season. Speaking of no snow, we were talking about this with CK. Deer Valley just lost a event that is near and dear to your heart, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what is that 25 years in a row? So 24 it would be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know winter without the World Cup, the aerials and the moguls and the freestyle World Cup.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
And it used to be, I mean, before the 2002 games, it was the Gold Cup. And for a couple of games anyway, it was an automatic berth to the Olympic Games. If you performed well there, if you won, as an American, you were on the Olympic team.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a pretty substantial competition. I mean, Deer Valley does everything. I mean, there isn't anything they don't do well. So yeah, it's sad for many, many reasons, but I'm gonna have to dig out that photo of CK and I.
Yeah.
In the human pit.
He said you guys were sneaking in to steal the turkey chili.
We didn't have to sneak in. Eventually, they gave us like a wristband because they were like, "You guys are pathetic." They were like, "Do we get food?" No, actually, Deer Valley. Weirdly, during the 2002 games, and the media. This is how you know sports media person. They're all about the food.
Yep.
What food do they serve in the press room?
Right. Yeah.
So during the Olympics, most of the press rooms served hot dogs, which was universally hated by all of the media from around the world. They were like, what a terrible American tradition the hot dog is, right?
Yep.
But at Deer Valley, we got amazing food, like charcuterie boards, which I didn't even know what they were until I went to Deer Valley. Yeah, and then the turkey chili, which is like world famous. So yeah, we had amazing food. But yeah, the World Cups, we didn't often have time to eat, so he's kind of probably making a joke for the most part. There were times where there were breaks, but yeah, for the most part, we're standing in a mixed zone, begging people to talk to us and trying not to freeze to death, and trading tips on. I think he had the whole progression of his career. I think he went from like park record to the trib to the. I mean, I don't know if it spanned the entire, but yeah, I think the last Olympics we did, I was at the D-News and he was at the trib. But yeah, it's a brutal way to try to get stories and also some of my favorite memories.
Sure.
Kurt Cragthorpe, Brad Rock.
Craggs, the legend, rock monsters. For our listeners who are confused, about 5 hours ago, it was announced due to challenging early season weather conditions, the 2026 FIS Freestyle World Cup, originally scheduled to take place at Deer Valley, which it usually does, have now been moved to the East Coast. Unfortunately, as a result of what we're going through right now, Lake Placid and Waterville Valley.
Yeah, they'll separate them. So the thing that was also awesome about this is that aerials and moguls were together. And as they've expanded and had new events, team events, and dual moguls, like all of those expansions have happened in the 25 years I was covering winter sports. But yeah, it's sad because it's just one of the things I admire about what Utah did after the 2002 games was they kept bringing world-class competitions here. It was World Cups, World Championships, team events, training. They brought a lot of teams relocated here. And it really, one of the saddest things you see in the Olympics is the communities build these facilities that are millions of dollars, sometimes billions of dollars, and they just go to waste, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like in Russia, you had, I think it was 5 stadiums in like what would be downtown, like 6 blocks or something. It was ridiculous. And I thought to myself, when will you ever use this setup?
Yeah.
Except the Olympics.
Yep.
Because you're in Sochi. You're outside of Sochi.
Right.
Actually, you're not even in Sochi. But it's so expensive to get there. It's so hard. This will never. And so I don't know what has happened there, but somebody once did a Summer Games where they went and looked at all the old facilities and how they just basically become relics of the past. And, some of them were in complete disrepair. Some of them were used for other purposes. Some of them had, like, vines growing over them like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
But in Utah, they really tried to continue to use these facilities, whether it was for local events and local communities or continue to bring world-class events here. And I think it really kept this city an Olympic city. I don't think it bodes well for our Olympic for hosting if we can't make snow.
Yeah.
This happened in Vancouver.
Yeah.
In 2010 in Vancouver, they actually had to eliminate a bunch of tickets because it was so warm that some of the stands they had built on snow collapsed.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you just outlined does make us a turnkey operation for an Olympic cycle and experience again. But yeah, I mean, they're relying on what most people believe is the greatest snow you'll find anywhere. And if we don't have it, it will certainly change that experience.
Yeah, and I think, so the Midway ice castles, they said they're not going to, from now on, maybe not even going to do it anymore.
Huh.
It's just not cold enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really sad. So I feel really bummed about it. I'm trying not to. There's so many things to be bummed about.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, the weather sucks also.
But it's Christmas week. We can find some things to be happy about, right?
I mean, I'm glad that the weather's okay, but yeah, I mean, we want snow, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the main reason so many people live here. But I did want to bring you into the conversation that we just had first with Chris, then Chris and Trey. And now, you join us. And there, I referenced this paper that I read. It came out in 2020 by Erin C. Carroll. She's a Georgetown law professor. And the title is Platforms in the Fall of the Fourth Estate. And you can Google it. It's available online. It's called The Scholarly Commons. It's not a super long read, but it does outline how platforms have kind of killed the Fourth Estate, which historically speaking was journalism to speak truth to power and hold people accountable. Where now you can just send something out on Twitter, you can send something out on Instagram, a social post, and then people gravitate towards that because so many people get their news now. And we were just discussing how this Kyle Whittingham situation has been handled by the University of Utah. And I want to be clear, I'm going to repeat this every time we talk about it. I'm not saying it's this person's fault or that's person's fault. I don't have enough inside information to be like, well, that guy blew it. I don't know. I just don't think it's been handled well. And is this just a microcosm of the way most people handle these things now, where it's like, we'll just ignore it and the news cycle will change and people's attention will go elsewhere?
I think that, we talked about this last time I was here, and I feel like there should have been a party. There should have been a celebration. Mm-hmm. There should have been a send-off. There should have been something. I think you also saw it a little bit when Kalani Sitake stayed and didn't take the Penn State job. Right? So then there was this, but they had a press conference. They had this thing where they hugged and kissed and said, look how great of friends we are. You didn't see that at the U. And you saw some jokes at the first press conference that Kyle was available. Mm-hmm. And I thought some truth came out, which is usually what happens and why people don't like to do press. And that is that, I think there was some, as you and I speculated, some behind-the-scenes thing. Mm-hmm. For some reason. It got announced on a social media post, and I just don't think that is respectful. It is not what Kyle Whittingham deserves, and it is not the way I would handle business if I were running a program like Utah's or any reputable program. I would say, this guy has given us his blood, sweat, and tears. He is our program. We're going to have a big blowout party and send-off, even if I'm forcing him out. Mm-hmm. I am not going to treat him the way so many organizations have treated people who built what it is they love in their city.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we're just too quick to forget that. And I think there should have been some. And I don't think it's too late. I think you should do it.
Yeah. The interesting thing to consider, because look, I think enough information is out there where, I think it's pretty clear now that he did not make this decision solely on his own. I think if it was only up to him, he'd be back up there. I don't know how long. There are a lot of people that believe he wanted to be around for a while. There's some people that believe he wanted one more year. But I think it's safe to say that this was not a scenario where Kyle just made this call, right? And so it leads you to really focus on three different areas as far as who, quote, got sick of him, because he has said that phrase first on my show during Utah BYU week, And then last week on Scott's show during media, probably said it a total of 10 times, I don't want to wear out my welcome. I don't want people to get sick of me, which means probably somebody was sick of him. So it either had to be the president of the school, the athletic director, or the money people, the boosters and the donors. Here's the irony. If it's any one of those three, they owe so much of how cushy their jobs are to what Witt built, right? Like, so it's there's a lot of irony steeped in this, that whoever, whether it was a group of people, if it was one, monolith decision, your job is great in no small part because of what that man just did for 21 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've all had this experience where we have a friend or a partner or someone we're dating who just throws out the little test. Are you sick of me? I don't want to stay where I'm not wanted. I'm not pretty. Oh, no, you're the prettiest person I know. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, we all know those people. And if you want them to stay, you reassure them. And if you want them to know that they have not overstayed their welcome and that they couldn't do that, and that you would tell them, that you would be straight with them, that's what would have happened. And so my feeling is that didn't happen, and that when he said repeatedly, I don't want to overstay my welcome, he got the feeling that he was overstaying his welcome.
Mm.
And so he chose to do what I think most of us would do, and that is leave with our dignity versus beg for another, keep me around and let me be your, let me kick me around like your old loyal dog.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's making a secret of the fact that, he in no way, shape, or form thinks he's done coaching.
Right.
And so there's two things at play for me. One is, am I done coaching here? And one is, am I done coaching?
Right.
Is he retiring? He made it clear he was not retiring and that he's open to ideas. What those ideas are, I don't think he has put out, but he's probably said those things privately, right, or to people in the industry. But I think it doesn't matter, even if you're sick of him, even if you think, look, this guy for us is not the right guy anymore. Like, I think this way, in every situation, there's a way to be grateful and graceful that they were not. And all you do is say, like, look, dude, you have overstayed your welcome. We want this to be the end, and we want to make your end something we all love, that is a good ending, right? And so you have the party and you do the thing and you say all the great stuff and you have this, whatever it is, 3 weeks of celebration up to the bowl game. We don't have any of that. They haven't given the fans any chance to tell Kyle they're grateful. You haven't given really deep interviews on what this means and what he did here and how special it is. I haven't seen anybody putting this in context except media people. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the way it should be. The message should be coming from the top. And I firmly, to me, you can say it's the university president. And I don't know who, in, like, you laid out 3 very good scenarios. At the end of the day, whose job is it to say to whatever the situation is to make it look good for the university? And that's Mark Harlan.
Yeah.
And for me, he's the guy who's got to say, if it's pressure from above or from boosters or from himself, or something we haven't anticipated, we don't know, whatever the situation is, for me, he's still the guy that has to say, thank you for what you did here. And I'm going to make this a celebration, even if it's not a thing I chose, even if it's not a thing Kyle chose, whatever the cards we are dealt, I will play the best hand I can.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody was like, well, kind of knew he was leaving, and don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out. And that is not the exit he deserves. Mm-hmm. And I will say that forever. I don't care whose decision it was. You have a choice about things happen to you and things happen because of you. Mm-hmm. And we don't know which one of those scenarios Mark Harlan is in, but we know he could make plans to make this a send-off worthy of Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah, and not a statement that was probably written by your SID in the email, right? That's not enough. And, my mom calls it antler bashing, when it's like competitive men that are in the same space and have to work together, and how oftentimes that can be complex and complicated.
Mom is so nice. I call it something else.
Well, we're talking, master's in social work, Columbia. She's got a lot of wonderful phrases. I was raised in a very therapeutic family because of her. And look, it's not a rare thing that things like this can get a little bit messy if there's a power imbalance, or somebody feels like they're not respected the way they should be respected. And somebody feels like they're not getting the credit they deserve for what they build or whatever it is. And I've seen it over and over and over in the realm of sports. And it's interesting to have a front row seat to the action and then really hear what people are saying and then understand what a big gap there is between the two. So but again, it just leads everybody to wonder how this went down. And we were talking last segment about the obligation you have to your paying customer and your consumer, that you're asking for money for tickets, food and bev, merch, everything. And then you're probably going to ask them to pay more for their consumer experience based off the new mandate that you better generate more revenue. What do you owe to your customer? What do you owe to your consumer? The people that pay the bills, the lifeblood of your business. What does a sports team, whether it's the University of Utah or Real Salt Lake or the Utah Jazz, and certainly if you're a publicly owned institution, what do you owe to the people that pay your bills?
I don't think that the people who own these teams think they owe us, ticket buyers, anything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't owe us anything anymore. I think that's evident by what's happening in Kansas City, Missouri/Kansas right now.
Wild.
Yep. And so in Missouri, they had a lot of public debate and a lot of arguments and taxes being raised or not raised to keep the Chiefs in Missouri. They're going to Kansas, and everybody's acting like it's no big deal, right? I don't think you understand what it does to community when something leaves.
And something like that.
Something, is massive. It's as if the Jazz would leave here and leave this empty stadium. What do we do? I mean, I think this sometimes about what's going to happen with the Maverick Center, right? Mm. It has been home to AAA hockey for a while, to the Grizzlies, and there are things that make it come alive, that make it matter. Even if, and there's been studies done on this, they never actually pay off for taxpayers. Mm. There is still an emotional benefit to a community to have a team that's their own, that gives something to them that is intangible, that can't be monetized. But I don't think the people who own these teams, and I don't think our government that subsidizes with our tax money these things, feels like they owe us anything. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like they have to answer questions. They don't answer questions. They don't give us access. We've had incident after incident where teams, the arrogance of the people, even on the college level. This is one of the reasons I hated covering college sports. I loved high school sports because they wanted you there. Mm-hmm. They needed to they wanted to be seen. I remember one of the very first, when I first switched to sports, and I thought, this is not as important as covering crime. I'm not really serving anybody, right? Like, what good is this? I'm just covering games. And I got a card from a young woman who was a pitcher on a team who'd won a state championship. And she said, thank you for coming and writing about me and my teammates. Thank you for paying attention. We work really hard. And it felt really good for someone to see us and to recognize us and to tell our stories. And I say over and over, if you care about something, you pay attention to it. If something matters to you, you pay attention to it. If you ignore it, it means you don't care. And I think it's very clear to me at this point in time that owners and government who invests in these big arenas and these teams, they don't care about us. Mm-hmm. They do not see us as the people who are paying the bills. They see the millionaires and the billionaires who are part of the NIL collectives or part of these, they can pay a fine or they can do this or they can do that. But the regular Joe who buys a ticket and wants to, and maybe buys a pretzel or a sweatshirt, like those things, we are a part of the engine that they don't care about anymore. Yeah. I don't think they feel like they have any obligation to give us anything.
Yeah. And there's plenty there's plenty of proof in the pudding there. I mean, when Art Modell, moved his football team and nearly decimated an entire city. Look, Ryan Smith wanted to move the Jazz down south. Okay, I can promise you. I've talked to plenty of people that either were behind closed doors or are still over there. It's like, no, that's what he wanted. He wanted to move the Jazz down south. I'm not exactly sure where. I know plots of land he was looking at, and then parlayed that desire into $1 billion from the government to keep the Jazz in the capital city, which is where I think they belong. Certainly after our investment in the airport, which is 15 minutes, if that, from the Delta Center, which makes it incredibly convenient. But if Ryan didn't get the deal he wanted from folks up here in Salt Lake, the Jazz are down south. Make no mistake about that.
But I mean, I think that's the frustration, and I see it on social media from people in Missouri. we turned ourselves inside out to make this a place you wanted to stay, and now you're gone. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And but over and above that, like, I felt this way when the Millers moved the Bees out of downtown Salt Lake, and we want a different place. We want to do a different. They're doing what's best for their business, right? And Ryan's doing what he thinks is best for his business. But the people who are rarely considered, I mean, everybody pays lip service to us, to the fans.
Yeah.
But I say us, but like the peons who buy stuff.
But
right?
it's easy to see through, isn't it? I think it is when you're being fed a bunch of BS.
This is the hard thing because it is a love-hate double-edged sword, right? So without people in your stadium, I mean, the men's basketball team had this problem at Utah.
Yep.
If people do not fill the stadium, if people do not come and make you a product, who wants to play in an empty stadium? Who wants to play in front of fair weather fans? Who wants to play for a team that doesn't have any loyalty, support? Like, everyone wants to be a part of the Bills Mafia or the Eagles, or, they want to be a part of a thing that exists. Like, people want to, I mean, Ohio State has a culture around its football team, right? So people want to be a part of a thing. If you're good, that's where you want to play. That's what you want to invest in. That's what you want to be a part of. So if you're a person with money, you want to be a part of that thing. And so you need the fans to some degree. Just like I talked about this, every race director needs 95% of the people to show up and pay money to run in a race they know they will never win, right? And nobody cares about them, and they're not getting primo, they're not in a early gate, or they don't get special, buses or anything like that. They're cattle, freezing their butts off for 2 hours in the morning before, like there's nothing special about you except that without you, this thing doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's a perfect analogy, perfect parallel. Yeah,
and that is what we have. But there is a lack of appreciation for that from most people in the boardrooms.
Yeah,
I think there is a segment of boardroom and a segment of players who understand that experience and understand, and they want to give something special to the people who show up at the arena.
Yeah,
but when you're talking about what am I going to do with my business, and am I going to move my team, and what do I want, and how do I want a retractable dome over my stadium, and do I want all the stuff that the Cowboys have, and can I keep up with the Joneses, right? Because I gotta track players here. I mean, I literally heard people debating, well, do fans really care about the seats they sit in? And I was like, have you lost your freaking mind?
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, it's not even about the fans. It's about the players and the teams, and they are trying to attract a player who wants to play in a stadium that's state of the art, right?
Yeah.
So that's the situation you're in. And so we matter less. And then if you don't appreciate the foundation upon which this thing is built, we matter even less.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to argue with any of it. It just makes me sad, unfortunately.
Same.
Amy Donaldson is live in studio. We'll catch a quick break. But before we do that, we've got a new client on the show, Wasatch Wagyu. Okay, so trust these guys. They're new. If you trust us with the sponsors that have been on the show, you can trust them. It's premium, legit Wagyu beef, New York steaks, 100% Wagyu burger beefs, roast, tomahawk steaks, fillets, and now beef jerky. Holidays are here, so get yourself some premium Wasatch Wagyu steaks to elevate your meal. It's the real Wagyu beef experience, fantastic marbling with bold, buttery flavors. So we focused on their meats, but I want to put an emphasis on their beef jerky because it's new, and it's a premium treat with natural flavors. Family-owned business, okay? We're talking about a husband and a wife, so shout out to Greg and Stacy. Trying to give a true small business feel with personalized customer service. All the cows come from Utah. Very important. Shout out to the cows. And they're the ones who personally send out their products, so let's support a good small business trying to make their way here in our state. Buy directly from Wasatch Wagyu. All you got to do is go to wasatchwagyu.com, check out their menu, pick what you want, and they're going to send off your meats to your door directly. Now, if you don't want to ship, they do have local pickup services available in Heber City. So don't wait for your Wagyu beef. Treat yourself, your family, your friends, and help support local businesses. Enhance your holiday with Wasatch Wagyu. Go to www.wasatchwagyu.com. Use the discount code DJ10 to get 10% off your Wagyu beef order. It's our good friends at Wasatch Wagyu. More with Amy coming up next on ESPN 700. We are going to recap the week that is now behind us in the world of pro football and then preview the week ahead in pro football, which has several midweek games as a result of Christmas Day with Sean Syad from Sumer Sports. But Amy Donaldson is live in studio for one more segment here, our friend from KSL. Do you have any New Year's intentions? I think that's the new phrase. When I was growing up, it was resolutions. I think now you have to say intentions.
Yeah.
What does Amy Donaldson want in 2026?
Oh, well, I am. This is not really a New Year's resolution, but it goes into the new year, so I'll use it as my New Year's resolution, and that is, well, I have a few things, but one is I have been working on the draft of a book, and so I've been hitting it. Have you read the book Atomic Habits?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so I've set up what I call my guardrails or my bumpers, like you do in bowling.
I like it. Yep.
And at night and in the morning to try to, maintain some good habits that lead me to be able to finish the draft of this book.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I have I told you last time, a podcast I've been working on and a new podcast. So I have those things. But as far as like things for me myself, so I'm currently taking taking a break from fostering animals. So I'll probably start that back up in the new year.
Okay.
But I think also I want to think bigger and try to get some community government or legislative involvement in actually solving some of the problems that I see leading to unwanted pets.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that between that and really getting I think this is the other thing. You probably hit this. Well, you're younger than me, so maybe you haven't hit it yet. But like I have to figure out some competitive outlets.
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm not good at sports anymore. But I need somewhere to channel my rage.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And so, so I'm working on that. I'm doing the pickleball but I want to do some endurance race goals and planning that with my sister. My sister's a beast.
Really?
I mean, she's won 100-mile races. She's honestly, she's crazy. But she's super competitive, and I just want to be 10% of where she's at. I think having that competitive outlet in your life is just a really good thing.
Totally agree.
And I actually loved reading that about, I think it was one of the guys on your show who, or maybe I read it somewhere, about Kyle Whittingham doing some cycling thing.
Oh, okay. It was Joe Klatt. Yeah. Joe Klatt.
But I just think you have to have something in your life that sort of gets you fired up in a way that isn't just I'm here and happy to participate.
Yeah.
You have to be passionate and care about it.
No, it has. I never played golf growing up. I hated it. I thought it was boring. I played football and basketball and lacrosse and other sports where you're running up and down. And my grandpa, may he rest in peace, tried his best. And he would tell me, he's like, you could be really good at this, okay? You're naturally coordinated. You're an athlete, let's get in. I'd go play with him once or twice a year, and it would just break his heart that I didn't enjoy it because I was so bored. Yeah. But over the past 5 years, that's become the thing. And I'm completely addicted to it because, if you don't actually study what it takes to improve at that game, you have no frame of reference for how nuanced and complex it actually is. When you just watch it, you're you're just swinging a stick at a ball, dude. And you're no. All of the movements, and top to bottom, full body, your wrists, setting that up correctly, getting your body through hip turn. It is a never-ending fascination of mine now. Have you ever tried that?
Yeah, well, I've tried golf. Yeah, and I think this about any sport, any physical endeavor, right? Is there's this point at which you realize if you actually tried, if you actually wanted to see what you're capable of,
mm-hmm.
it was going to require a level of commitment from you.
Mm-hmm.
Where I love this idea that in order to build willpower or mental muscle, right, to do hard things, you have to do things that you don't want to do consistently. And the only reason that you do things you don't want to do on a regular basis is because you have a goal. And if you don't do the things that you don't want to do, like go to the gym or go for a run or lift weights or whatever it is, right? If you don't have a why, a reason to do those things, you're not doing them. because you're cold, you're tired. There's a million things to do as an adult. But if you have a race, or you have an Ironman, or you have a competition, or you're playing pickleball or racquetball, or whatever you're doing, or golf, and you have any bit of competitive juice in you, and I say this to people, there's a reason being competitive is good, because you challenge yourself, you push yourself, and you see what you're capable of in a way that just being out for the experience never does for you.
Right.
I mean, I'm 100% into having experiences and not being good. Just being along for the ride, love to see the view, love to have the experience, love to have fun, and not put the pressure on myself that if I actually have a goal. I loved this interview I did with an ultra runner named Jared Campbell. And if you don't know who Jared Campbell is, I highly recommend looking on YouTube. There's a documentary that he's in, but he's one of the best ultra runners, and he lives here in Utah, right? And he's won a race that most people in the ultra universe have never even run, let alone finished. Okay. And so I interviewed him for an outdoor podcast that I was doing, and he said he never does anything unless there's a very good chance that he will fail. And I remember saying to him, like, I am the opposite. I want a 90% assurance that I'm going to succeed.
Yeah.
Because I hate the humiliation of failure.
It's being embarrassed. Yeah.
It's so, I hate it. I want to know, what are the odds? How am I going to get there? And that's why I train. That's why I'll show up. That's why I'll do the thing I don't want to do, because I don't want to be humiliated on game day.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the worst one. I'm fine not being the best one. I've been not the best one my entire life. My goal is not to be the worst one. But this idea that you would only do things unless there is a very good chance you will fail at, it made me completely think again about that competitiveness in you and why it matters and what it does to you and when it makes you better and what it does for us as human beings and where it goes sideways.
Yeah.
It's just a fascinating thing for me. But again, that's one of my things I always think about when people talk about New Year's. I think, in what way am I going to give birth or give an avenue for this competitiveness to actually try or fail or make me excellent or, make me cry? Like, how is that going to live this year?
Yeah.
What is that going to look like?
No, I love that perspective. And, I have tried to, as you age a little bit, your perspective changes. And I think when I was younger, if I didn't think I had a chance to be really good at something, I didn't even want to try it, right? Yeah. Or if I tried something, I'm like, that's not for me, I would never do it again. And I try to change that. And golf is the perfect example because it doesn't matter who you are. That game will bring you to your knees. Like even the pros you'll watch. I went down and had a chance to go to a PGA event last year, and I saw some of the best golfers in the world shank their drives, hard right or hard left. Like that game will humble you. I don't think, for me, unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
Well, and I think they've done studies, and the reason that people don't take up new sports or new things as they age isn't just because they're not physically fit or they're not capable, right? Or they're too busy or whatever, or they have better things to do than, go jogging or whatever.
Yeah.
It's because we get less and less tolerant of failure. When you are young, there's a lot of failure happening to you all the time. So it just happens. I mean, it is a fact of life. And I think I remember, it's the reason I know that Wayne Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots you never take.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Why do I know that? Because I failed. And because my dad said it to me. And then I looked it up. And then I followed Wayne Gretzky. And I looked at his career. And I saw what he failed at. And I saw what he succeeded at. Right? And then I've spent a lot of my adult life talking to people about why did you keep going after you failed? And after you failed, sometimes really publicly, really miserably. Interestingly, I did this series when I was doing Sports Talk Radio where I asked people, what is your most memorable sports moment? And for the most part, these were coaches or people who owned teams. They were administrators. They were people who were not in the game anymore. And almost universally, I'd say 85% of the time, it was a failure. That was their most memorable moment. And because failure teaches you something that success doesn't. And I remember a coach telling me, you can hide a lot of flaws when the scoreboard lets you, right? So when you're winning, you can pretend things are better than they are. And we've all been in the situation where we were lulled into this sense of we're all that. I mean, as another coach told me, I believed the headlines about myself. And guess what? They weren't true.
Right. Yeah.
And so then that's why those failures become so pivotal, become so memorable, because that's when, I mean, you guys talked about Pablo Mastroeni with Chris and Trey. One of the things I love talking to him about is he's so open about his failures. And I think that is where it not only have we all had failure, but we've all tried to make sense of it. We've all tried to figure out, like, well, that sucked. How can I never let this happen to me again?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, my sister, like I just told you, she's a beast in running. She did this whole year. She was like, this is my revenge tour. And she went and reran every race that she had DNF'd or, had some experience where she knew she could do better. And I was like, you're spending thousands of dollars and training like a mad dog.
And this is misery training, by the way. Yeah.
I mean, running, averaging 20 miles a day, right? Like, it's nuts. And eating differently. And her whole life, when you run ultras, your life revolves around that training. And she's just so dedicated. And I just thought, but she was like, I have to prove to myself. But again, there's that competitiveness. And I channel it sometimes into my writing and into what I do as a creative person and the art that I want to make. And it's not that it's going to be better than anyone else. It's just that it's going to honor what I felt, what I experienced, what I went through. And that is also a thing that is super risky.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, what if no one likes it? And I've had this new thing that I've been saying. It's like a macaroni necklace. Did you ever make your mom a macaroni necklace?
I know exactly what you're talking. I don't know if I made one for my mom, but I certainly know what you're talking about.
Either you've made one for your mother, or you, as a mother, maybe as a father, you've had one made for you.
For sure, yeah.
We've all had some art project from a kid that was only valuable to us because of the affection we have for the child. Right,
yeah.
My mom loved the art I made her. It was not good.
I have kept everything my son has ever made me. I mean, I have boxes of it.
Same.
When he was a kid, yeah.
And so, but you know that the macaroni necklace is worth nothing. If you tried to give me some art project that your kid did for you, it would not. You would say, Amy, you want to buy this? Okay? I'm probably not going to buy it.
For sure, yeah.
Or I'm going to buy it for like $5, right? It's not valuable. And what I feel sometimes that we feel as middle-aged athletes or creatives, or, I think sometimes I hear this from coaches who are in a period of change in their careers. I think of Eric Kerr going to Weber, and there's just this moment of like, does the world actually want what I have to offer?
Yeah.
Or is this actually a macaroni necklace and only my mom wants it? Right?
For sure.
And so what I've decided is, don't make that decision. Do the thing. Make the art. Take the risk. Do the thing. And then the world can say, oh, yeah, this was a macaroni necklace. We don't really want it.
Yeah.
But you get the benefit of having created the art or taken the risk or gone to the competition, or like my sister on her revenge tour. I mean, that was a year that she will never forget. It changed who she was, right? And it taught her so much about herself that she changed her actual career. She went from being a police officer on a college campus to teaching sexual assault and domestic violence training at the academy, right? She's at the police academy in South Carolina. So it changed what she wanted to do, like the trajectory of her life, in a very substantial way, because she decided to go on a revenge tour and run a bunch of races that she failed at. That she thought she failed at.
Yeah.
Again, so you don't know, is it a macaroni necklace or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they've proven over and over, if you have a process goal, it's transformative. If you have an end goal, like I want to write a book, but I don't have any plan, I'm just going to dream about it, you're never going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so that's how I look at. I don't do like a resolution, so to speak, but like to me, it's like, oh, it's this thing that everyone's talking about. How am I going to be better in this year? What am I going to do differently?
I think it's really powerful and good perspective because, I mean, I'll certainly speak for myself. You're doing the thing every day, and then you're expecting something to come your way, right? So, like, I remember getting, what I thought was the best radio job in our city at the age of 30. And I can remember the guy who hired me said, how does it feel to have the best job you can have in your profession and you're 30 years old? And I think at the time, well, no, I don't think. At the time, I was like, okay, so I guess what's going to happen is I'm going to do the best job in radio in Salt Lake for 5 years. And then Seattle's going to call, or LA's going to call, or New York's going to call. And then I'm going to go do it there in a bigger market. And now 20 years later, I'm doing the same job. And I love it. It's a great job. And I take it very seriously. I don't take it for granted at all. But I think for me in the past, certainly doing the thing, as you said, every day, there was always this thought in the back of my mind, like, wait, when am I going to get a bigger and better opportunity as opposed to just enjoying what I was doing, day to day?
Well, and that's why, in sports, I always talk about what's your why? Why are you doing this, right? Is it to get a bigger, better job? Because I had this debate with people at my office and in my profession all the time. High school sports is not a thing that anyone aspires to do. It is an entry-level job. And nobody, I always say, it is a stepping stone on the way to somewhere else.
Shout out James Edward.
Yeah. Nobody goes there to die except for me and James Edward. We went there and we said, this is literally the best job ever, right? Yeah. But then that became why. And like I told you about the card I got from this young woman, for me it became like, oh, this is a place where people want you to know why they do what they do. They want, and I think of the amazing stories that I've been able to tell over the course of my career, all of them in sports that the rest of my colleagues would be like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I remember when we had Olympic signups at the Deseret News, they wanted all of us to sign up for a sport so that by the time the games came in 2002, we'd be experts in those sports. And I signed up for cross-country skiing because I grew up in Alaska, and I was like, I did cross-country skiing. I could do this.
Yeah. I
got pulled off of it and sent to aerials, which is how I ended up at Deer Valley all those years. But but I remember none of the sports guys had signed up for an Olympic beat. And I remember talking to, it was actually Jody, and I talked to Dirk about this too. And I was like, you're going to miss out. Hockey. Yeah. Olympic hockey. Yep. And they did end up covering some of the sports, right? But winter sports were not a thing you aspired to do because nobody paid attention to them until Olympic year, right? And we'd never had the game, so they didn't know what was coming. And I had been to Atlanta as a cops reporter, so I knew some of what I saw vicariously. Oh, this is like a living organism, this thing, it's the Olympics. So I think that knowing why you want to do something is almost more important than what the rest of the world tells you is important, right? Everybody's going to have their opinion about what's the beat you want to do. Do you want to do college football? You want to cover the NBA? Do you want what is it you aspire to do?
Yeah.
And I think you have to know, why did you get into this business? Why did you want to do what you do? And that's the thing that makes you do all the stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Every single day, because at the end of the day, I want women athletes and a lot of non-traditional athletes, I want to hear their stories. I want to know the struggles they went through, and I want the world to know those stories.
Yeah.
Because they inspire me.
No, it's beautiful motivation. Keep doing what you do. All right. Great to see you. We will not speak to you until probably after the new year. Yeah. So I know you've got a bunch of errands to run to get ready for a big few days. So we'll set you loose, Sammy. Thanks for your contributions all year, okay?
It's been fun. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, all the stuff.
For sure. Our friend Amy Donaldson from KSL, always appreciate her time. We're going to recap the week that was in the NFL and preview the week that will be with our friend Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. But I want to tell you about my friends at America First Credit Union before we catch a break. Now, if you're in business with a bigger bank, one of the national branches, or even some of the local branches too, I hate to break it to you, you are in business for them to profit off of you. A credit union is set up differently, okay? So America First Credit Union is a member-owned, not-for-profit financial cooperative based right here in Utah. Been serving members since 1939, celebrating the 86th anniversary this year of serving members in 6 Western states. They have over 90 branches here locally, and they're incentivizing you to make the switch. And I can promise you, your money will start doing more for you if you leave your bank behind and join a credit union because, again, not for profit. New members right now get $100, no questions asked, when you make the switch and open a checking account and a savings account with America First Credit Union. So you can get extra $100. You can use it to pay bills, use it to buy Christmas presents or whatever you want. Put it away, save it, invest it. And it's never too soon to start teaching your children how money works as well. America First Credit Union has an offer now that if you open up a checking account for a teen, they're just going to hook you up with $50. You get $50 for your kid. Go to americafirst.com/deals for more information. Or as I referenced, you can stop by one of their 90 Utah locations. That's our good friends at America First Credit Union. We'll catch a break and talk some pro football with Sean Syed. Coming up next on ESPN 700. Little Monday Night Football on our station last night was pretty entertaining, I have to say. Saw the Niners take care of the Colts. Got a busy week of football, and you're going to hear a lot of it on our station. We'll tell you what our programming is going to look like before we say goodnight at about 6 o'clock tonight. So let's look back on the week that was in the NFL and preview the week that will be with our friend Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. Hello, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Like you, maybe a little bit surprised by how good of a game that was on Monday night.
For sure. And look, got to give the Niners credit because Brock Purdy was amazing and they get the win. But let's start with the really cool story, certainly for somebody like me, Sean, in his mid-40s that would like to, at some point, maybe a chance to come back and play a sport that I loved. How can you frame how Phillip Rivers has looked over the past couple of games as the Colts starter, and what are you expecting the rest of the way?
I mean, just at the mental level, it's phenomenal. It really is so cool where he's been out of the league for so many years. The league has shifted in so many different ways, and to be able to come in and make all of those checks at the line to get your players into the exact right spots is super cool. Now, of course, physically, he is limited. I think that, you ask him, he'll be able to tell you that you can see it on the field, but it's tough because you can see his mind working at such a good pace. Obviously, he's not going to be able to move the same way in the pocket. So, I'm not expecting the Colts to really find their way into the playoffs. It's such a cool story, though, so it's hard for me to really poo-poo what's going on there for Indy. It's really tough. The Colts, they've lost so many games now, like in this kind of 7-game stretch where it felt like early in the season, this is a team that, hey, they're going to have a chance at making that AFC Championship game when some of these other teams that we're so used to being in the playoffs aren't going to be there. And for them to fall off to this point, it is a little bit of a bummer.
Are you surprised at his incredible grasp of the offense, or is that just the main reason that he actually has the gig?
I mean, I guess it shouldn't be, right? Because it sounds like he's running this offense at the high school that he's coaching at. Him and Steichen have gone back way far. I'm curious how many times he made a check and maybe he used the wrong word because the Colts recently changed the word. But, yeah, to get all of that process together, it's so cool. It makes you think back to, how he played when he was really at the peak of his powers. And it almost makes me just appreciate him a little bit more. So good on him to do it. And as you mentioned, wouldn't we all love to do that, right? Like when you're a little bit just past the age that you're supposed to be playing that sport, to be able to go back, play a little bit more.
So with the time that we have available today, Sean, I always like to kick the tires with you on the teams that seem to carry the most water and weight around here. And certainly as a result of proximity, we have a tremendous amount of Denver Bronco fans. And I don't know the last time I can remember them being as optimistic as they are right now. Now, they're coming off a loss, of course, to Jacksonville, who might just be awesome in a way that no one saw coming. But what are you willing to say about your belief in Denver the rest of the way and into postseason?
There's a real chance that you're the number 1 seed as the Denver Broncos. And that is the biggest thing that you could have going into the playoffs. Of course, health as well. It scares me, though, that Week 18 game, it might be just Broncos-Chargers for the division. Like there's actually a chance that you get bumped down that ladder pretty far. But, the Broncos still control their own destiny. That's really important. The defense against the Jaguars, I think they were able to be successful early on with some blitzes. You do get 5 sacks of Trevor Lawrence, but I think Liam Cohen, head coach and offensive play caller for the Jaguars, I just think he's one of the special ones. I think they figured things out with the blitz. They were 4 of 5 in the red zone against the Broncos, who are just one of the best red zone teams in the entire league. So you're not going to be able to just totally dominate teams every single game on defense. I do think, Bo Nix, maybe outside the last game, he has been steadily improving. I think Sean Payton puts him in good spots. So, I don't want to play the Broncos because their defense can just totally ice you out. That you can just win a game with the defense being that good. So I'm not counting the Broncos out yet. I don't have them chalked in as losing that AFC West to the Chargers yet. I think that when that Week 18 comes around, if it is for the division, that Broncos pass rush, I think, is really going to show a lot against the Chargers offensive line.
Since we already mentioned it, because the Niners, even though the Phillip Rivers story is awesome, the Niners looked pretty amazing, and Brock Purdy was nearly perfect. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries, and defensively they're not who they once were because Fred Warner might be the best at what he does in the world. But got the same question. What are you willing to say about the Niners the rest of the way?
This offense is awesome. Purdy has put together this 3-year stretch of incredible offensive efficiency. And even through this year, of course, you have a bunch of injuries. But I just love the way that Kyle Shanahan sees offensive football. It really is so cool where you look at the game on Monday night, we have Kyle Juszczyk doing the same motion 5 or 6 different times and we have 5 or 6 different plays where the 6th time it's run, hey, this is going to be a play action shot that's going to get a guy wide open. Now, that George Kittle ankle injury, that does bother me a little bit, but the 49ers are a team that they're going to put up points on you in the postseason. Now, if you see them in the postseason, it might be a game where it's like 42-35 because the defense does have some issues where, not that they play a vanilla brand of football, I don't want to say that, but they would like to be kind of like, hey, we're trusting our fundamentals. We're using this style of defense over and over again. And it's been rough with all those players injured. So I think, their ceiling, maybe it's a little bit lower than I think what I would have hoped coming into the season, but there's also a chance that these guys find a way to get the number 1 seed. They're going to play the Seahawks in 2 weeks. They have the Bears coming up on Sunday night, 2 huge games. I'd like to see them win it because I think we're not talking about the 49ers enough because of some of those injuries. Kyle Shanahan, I think, to me is really one of the candidates for coach of the year here.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Jordan Love played his college ball not too far away from where we're broadcasting up in Logan, Utah for the Utah State Aggies. And, of course, losing Micah Parsons is going to really change the way the Packers will have to approach the rest of the year. And after a couple of straight L's, a lot of people down on Green Bay. What do you think we'll see the rest of the way?
I had the last few weeks said, all right, the Packers are actually the best team in the NFC. This is who you have to look out for. When you lose Michael Parsons, you just feel it. You really, really feel the issues in the pass rush game where they, outside of Michael Parsons, they don't really have any guy that's in the kind of top 30 or top 40-ish of creating pressure. So that's been a big, big problem where now you're relying a ton on your secondary, and eventually they're going to be able to beat you. We think back to that play against Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter where, you're sending all this pressure, but you get a little bit of a miscommunication between defensive backs, and now it's a touchdown. Then that overtime, it was one of the throws of the year for Caleb Williams. So it's tough because this was, I think, one of the best teams, really the best team in the NFC. Now it feels like, all right, you're going to kind of sneak into that 7 spot. You do probably it's most likely to be a rematch against the Bears. I think we deserve that, right? I would love to get a third matchup between these teams where let's get Jordan Love healthy. Let's get back in a good spot. They're going to absolutely have a chance to win a game. It's just going to be a little bit tough, I think, to win all of these games now on the road.
I believe I have this correct. Of the 5 current favorites to win the Super Bowl in Vegas, only one team was in the top 5 to start the year, and that is the Buffalo Bills. And they're actually, right now, it's the same odds as the Patriots. They're both plus 900. Rams 1, Seahawks 2, Broncos 3, Pats 4, Bills 5. So the Rams lose to the Seahawks, but their Super Bowl odds actually did improve. Would you consider the LA Rams the favorite to win the Super Bowl as we sit here today?
This is an interesting one because the biggest thing is you need to get the number 1 seed. It's always hard to look at a team that is going to have to play 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl, not even have that first round bye. That's really tough. Is there a chance that the Rams get the first overall seed? Yeah, I do think that the Rams are the best team. That's really the biggest thing to me, where, yes, you lose that game to the Seahawks. You're hoping that you don't have that big of a special teams flub again where you get that interception. You're feeling like, all right, we're up by 16. We're not going to have a crazy situation where the ball's bouncing in multiple directions, ends up in a fumble recovery for a 2-point conversion. So I still think the Rams are the best team. I just always have a hard time thinking someone's going to go on the road that many times and being able to make the run. If it's going to be anyone, though, it's going to be Matthew Stafford. He is playing out of his mind this season. Puka Nacua is actually now having a better season than Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is having a historic season to start. So really, really good job by the Rams to continue there on offense. Part of me wants to say the Bills, though, too. And now I'm looking at 2 teams that are actually both 6 seeds right now. It's just weird because we're not talking about Mahomes. We're not talking about Lamar Jackson. We're not talking about Joe Burrow. But the last guy, that little quad group there, is Josh Allen, of course.
Yeah, and that's what makes me kind of if I had to pick one of the 5, just because I'm always one that picks something that I've seen before, and I feel like Josh is too good not to start winning Super Bowls, I probably would go Buffalo. But if I asked you to choose a team outside of the top 5, Rams, Seahawks, Broncos, Patriots, Bills, a team that's not in that top 5 that you think can throw punches and win a Super Bowl, which team is that and why?
Yeah, you don't have to look too far back to last year. I do think the Philadelphia Eagles could make a run. I actually do. They've had a bunch of issues on offense. I think that they haven't figured all of their issues out on offense yet, but over the last few weeks, yeah, you see it against the Commanders, against the Raiders. Yes, those are not world-beating type defenses. But now the Eagles are spreading the ball out a little bit more. You're using wider formations. You're getting a little bit more of open space. And, the run game, it is certainly not what it was last year. The offensive line has taken a step back, I think, on that interior, but the defense is still awesome. It's not the same exact defense as last year. You do have one cornerback that you can maybe start to attack just a little bit more. The pass rush, it's improving. It's not exactly what it was like last year, but when you have Vic Fangio calling defensive plays, I trust that guy with my life. I really trust that the Eagles are going to be able to make it really, really competitive, and it's just going to be, hey, can you get another run from Jalen Hurts where you're playing your two best games of your life in the NFC Championship game last year and in the Super Bowl last year? There's something about it. Like, I don't like doing the whole, this player is clutch or this player lives up to the moment. Jalen Hurts, in the biggest moments, he just has a cool, calm, collected pulse. He really, really does. It's hard to quantify. It's weird sometimes to think about okay, when the playoffs happen, he's just going to be able to turn it on. I do think he has that in it. So it's going to be really curious to me where you're not defending a title. It's two totally different teams, but I don't want to count the Philadelphia Eagles out just yet.
Before I say you loose, this is from my producer and the other Cowboys fans in the market. At what point will they be able to pull themselves out of this 30-year drought? Eliminated from the postseason again, a trade that was highly maligned when it came to moving Parsons on to a conference foe, and they've got some decisions to make. How can this look different for Dallas, or will it ever look different for Dallas as long as they're owned by Jerry Jones?
Look, the Dallas Cowboys had two actual home runs that were really good for them this year. One is the offense and Brian Schottenheimer as a hire, which I wasn't sure. How was this going to look? The offense has looked really good this season at multiple different points. By the end of the year, they're going to end up as one of those top 10 offenses by all the advanced numbers. I think the Quinnen Williams trade, getting Quinnen Williams in the building is also real positive. Now, of course, you look back on the Michael Parsons trade. One, he's hurt, but still you just feel like, all right, we lost such a big part of the defense. I think that you can still feel good about this. It's easy for me to say because I'm not a Cowboys fan, but you have the quarterback, you have the offensive play caller. You should, I think, feel relatively good actually about your head coaching hire. I think the signs are pointing to, I think Jerry talked about it a little bit, probably going to have a different defensive coordinator. You're hoping that, hey, you bring another person in there. Let's get that unit closer to average because this offense has a lot of really, really strong parts. I think if you're able to have Pickens and Lamb together for a long time, Dak is playing at a really, really high level. So it bums me out. It really does bum me out because there's so many good things on this team. Hopefully next year you're able to feel like our defense is just at that kind of, we're floating above water. Our offense is going to carry us. Let's go ahead and make our way into the playoffs.
Sean, where can people go find your work, bud?
You can find me on Twitter at Syed Schemes, doing a bunch of videos, doing one video a day from now till the Super Bowl. Check out the Sumer Sports YouTube page. It's Summer with one less M. Check us out on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm posting all of these different places. Hopefully you all enjoy. We'll learn something about football together. Have
a great holiday season, my friend. Appreciate your time. Be well, okay?
Happy holidays, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right, Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. Before we catch a break, I want to tell you about my friends at Game Day Men's Health. Now it's the holiday season, and we're inching closer and closer to the new year, and you may have a resolution or an intention, whatever the kids are saying these days, to get back in shape or get in better shape or maybe lose a lot of weight. Trust me when I say utilize this offer from Game Day Men's Health if that's actually something you want to accomplish. A couple of years ago, I decided I was going to set out on this journey to try to get in the best shape I'd ever been in as an adult. And after about 3 months, I wasn't making the progress I wanted to make. I was eating clean. I was exercising, cleaned up some habits and vices and such. It just wasn't working the way that it did in your 20s when you exercise for a little bit. You see a lot of results. Had a friend ask me if I had ever supplemented testosterone before, which I had not. And he sent me over to Game Day Men's Health, and they're giving you the same deal they gave me, which is this. Number one is you get a free consultation, completely free. They've got locations in Lehigh, Pleasant Grove, Cottonwood Heights is the one I use. Then there's one in South Ogden. Okay, so free consultation is just a little bit of blood work. Then they go over your levels, and then they tell you what they can do to help you in areas where you might be lacking. They helped me supplement some testosterone. They got me on their peptides as well. And utilizing those two products over the course of the next 3 months gave me twice the results I had over the prior 3 months. Now, the best news is it's 2 years later, and I've maintained it because you go in for follow-ups. They make sure that they're testing your levels and adjusting what you need to adjust to improve your energy, have better workouts, up your libido. They also have semaglutide, tirzepatide. If you are in need of a situation where you need to lose a lot of weight, they can do that for you as well. But here's the kicker. If you go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, schedule that free consultation, and then mention you heard me talking about it on my show, they're knocking 50% off of your first year of membership, which makes this extremely affordable. Again, the very same deal that they give me. It's our good friends this holiday season at Game Day Men's Health. 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. Final hour of the program is next on ESPN 700. All right, wrapping it up. Final segment of the show for today and final segment of the live show for the week. We are off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll be back on Monday with a full live show. Tomorrow, you're going to hear Utah's win over USC at Rice-Eccles Stadium, Utah's win over BYU when Brandon Burton blocked the game-winning field goal. Then it's the Hawaii Bowl. Then on Christmas, we have an NFL doubleheader. Cowboys, Commanders, Vikings, and Chiefs. Then on Friday, we're going to let you hear the Pac-12 championship game from 2021. Then we will have the Rate Bowl, which is New Mexico versus Virginia. Now, Porter, we will have a show before the new year, so we can be a little bit more reflective. But as you look back on the 2025 calendar, what's the one story that you will take with you into the new year?
Yeah, at least in his market, it won't surprise you. It's the one that's still kind of unfolding. It's Kyle Whittingham's coup de grace here at Utah. It's whatever that ends up looking like, right? We still have one game and kind of got to tie up the loose ends there. But for me, that's been the story of the market, at least if you're talking sports media. And obviously me being the Utes guy, it's not a surprise that that's the one that's caught my attention.
I agree. It is not just the biggest story of this year, but probably the biggest story that we've had along the landscape of the economics or the, basically ecosystem of sports here in Utah, probably since Ryan Smith bought the Jazz from the Millers. That's the one thing that stood out to me. So we will be back prior to the new year. And, of course, we'll make sure to have all of our angles covered. It's a busy week ahead, not just the holiday season, but a lot of football, a lot of college and pro football. The NBA kind of really gets going on Christmas Day. So we'll kind of lean into our NBA coverage when we are back on air as well. I just want to say a very special thank you to all of you for making this program a part of your day, no matter how you listen to it, whether it is on the radio live on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM, if you stream us live on ESPN700sports.com, or if you check out our podcast page on your preferred podcast catcher. It's called The Drive with Spence Checketts. It's available wherever you get your shows. Special thank you today to Chris Camerani, Trey Fitzgerald, Amy Donaldson, and Sean Syed. If you miss any of the sound from the show, it's always up online for your disposal, podcast, website, what have you. That's Porter. I'm Spence saying goodnight. Have a very Merry Christmas and a very happy holiday season. Be good to yourself and be good to each other. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you next Monday right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700.